What's up, everybody? Zach here with Eat, Sleep, Anime, the show that doesn't have a training arc. I am one of your hosts, Zach Dykes, joined by my good friend, Buggy Ball number 2, Derek Daniel. Derek, how's it going, my man?
It's going pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm good. You could tell if I've watched something where I'm like, oh, I'll bring this into the intro and all of that. So you could tell
Yep.
I've watched
And I got
just
the
a little bit of
reference, you know?
little bit of
And you
One Piece.
yeah, a little tiny bit, but we'll get into that here in just a moment. But yeah, we're gonna eat good. Obviously, if you guys didn't see last week, we are doing things a little differently because of commitments and other things that popped up over this past weekend. We couldn't do our normal ESA on a weekend like we could, but we didn't want to miss out. We didn't want to get too late into the spring without talking about some anime because we both have been watching a lot of stuff that we want to talk about. So we decided to do a Thursday, and you know what? It was a good Thursday to do it, Zach, because not a lot of gaming news happened this week. So you know what? God looked out for us.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I think it might, I'm not calling it yet. We'll see how it goes by the end of it. But I kind of like it being on a Thursday, like in the middle of the
Yeah,
week,
yeah. Huh.
Amy says, Buggy Ball number 2.
Now watch. We everybody gets one. We'll do this once, and then we'll think about doing it again, and then like Nintendo will shut down as a company that week, and we're just like, well.
Well, hopefully that won't happen. But welcome, everybody. Let us know how you are down in the comments below. Michael, hope you're doing well tonight. This is Eat Sleep Anime. We do the show once per quarter. We review and talk about all the anime that we've been watching. We go through lineups. We have a Kage Summit. We talk about anime as a whole, the industry, all that good stuff. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Anime Awards, of course, the Anime of the Year nominees, who got nominated, who got snubbed, and
Got
all of
left
that.
out.
Yeah, some interesting stuff there. So it's going to be a great time. Amy says, I heard y'all talking about me before the stream. I'm curious what would get me mad that you were discussing. Derek, you want to say?
So Zach was, roasting me like he normally does, like giving me like, playful jabs, and I'm just like, okay, you know what? If you feel that way, I'll just disconnect you from my Crunchyroll account. And he's just like, and he was like, I'm sure Amy would be more upset than I would. I'm just like, yeah, because I didn't realize that she had finished Ancient Magus' Bride, but I would be like, watch, I'd cut it off right as she gets to the pivotal moment in Ancient Magus' Bride. She's like, what's happening? Then she would find out what happened, and then she would blame you. She's like, you make up with him right now, Zach. I need my anime back.
Oh, well, welcome everybody in. We love to get to hear your thoughts, your opinions as we are live. We got a lot to talk about. And first up, which is one of my favorite segments of the entire show, is what you been watching. Y'all drop your thoughts in down in below. Derek, you want to go 1-to-1 on this, or how are you wanting to feel this
I'll
one?
say you can go through your list, and I'll go through mine. And
Okay.
just as a caveat, it's like obviously we've watched a lot, but we have it broken down into different segments. This first part is just a generic, nothing to do with the current, like the winter lineup, the spring lineup. This is just what we've been watching on the side, as you could say.
Yeah.
So
So for me, I just started this like a few weeks ago. I'm about halfway through the series, and that is Kabanari and the Iron Fortress.
mhm.
This is, I would put this in the hidden gems category
Okay.
because it is so good. If you like Attack on Titan, this is very like Attack on Titan. You've got like Shogun era meets like railroads and all of this, and you got zombies with like iron cages around their hearts and some steampunk. It's really, really cool. I'm enjoying every bit of it. And of course, no spoiler, somebody turns into one, but they don't fully turn into one, just like Attack on Titan.
I know, I was gonna say, just like
So you get that there, but man, it is so good. I'm really enjoying that. Me and my wife Amy, we finished Ancient Magus Bride, the first and second seasons, plus the little they have like two not necessarily OVAs because they do go into it, but like they're like little sub plots to it, like 3 episodes.
Got you. Like one-offs.
Yeah, one-offs. This show is as close to a Ghibli movie as you're going to get with an anime show. And I think that's really, really cool because, man, the art is amazing. The magic system is so unique and so detailed where there's a lot of times you've got to like stay glued to the TV or you're going to kind of miss some things. But it's also, it feels laid back at times where a Ghibli movie would be, and then stuff happens. You're like, oh my God, like we're off to the races and everything. So man, I highly suggest if you are looking for something like, I know Freerun is finishing up. That would definitely be something I would suggest people jump in on and watch as Ancient Magus Bride, because man, it is really, really good. The voice acting is done very well. Dude, first and second season is amazing. Talking about Ancient Magus Bride, it's a anime. It's not a movie, but it's very like a Ghibli movie. How like the pacing and everything is, and they like the way they use the environment also reminds me a lot of Ancient Magus Bride. Not Ancient Magus Bride, but the Ghibli stuff, like Totoro and all of that is very, environment. Anything with Miyazaki is going to be that. Amy says Ancient Magus Bride is so good, but not for everyone. Yeah, like the second season takes a different kind of turn, but I really liked it because there was a mystery about it, which was really cool. So highly suggest that. Before I get into the other ones, we've got some comments. Y'all let us know what you're watching down in the comments below. Amy says Freerun, JJK, One Piece, melty face right there, Ancient Magus Bride, Fairy Tale, and last night we started Demon Slayer. So a lot of good stuff there, because man, we've been watching a lot. But yeah, we started One Piece. Man, Derek, we started
you want to
it.
believe?
I want to believe. I'm trying, but I'm like looking at this and I'm like, I know that I watched Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball was before it. I'm like,
Hakusho.
I'm like, I watched Yu Yu Hakusho not too long ago, like a year or two ago, and I'm like, the pacing, like it's drawn out, but it doesn't feel childish. Like this feels like a kid show with cussing, and I'm like, this is like not computing with my brain. It's like, what's going on? And it's not necessarily even the animation that like gets on my nerves, which it doesn't. It's more of the pacing issues. And I know that's only going to keep going until we get later into the series.
Right. Because, it starts with like, the getting to know the characters and laying the foundation. But as you continue on, it does callbacks to characters or situations or places they've been, or references like the history of, why their motivations and everything. So it's a very one of those, like, there's a lot of times where I was watching it because I need to pick it back up. I've been involved in a lot of stuff with anime lately, Zach. So I have left off on like, I'm almost in the 800s for the episodes, but I mean, it's like I'm doing like the Leo DiCaprio scene. We're like, pointing at the TV, like, oh, I remember this, or I recognize this. It's like, oh, so it once you get to that point, then it starts it opens up and it becomes very interesting. And now you're just waiting. It's like, okay, when are they going to reference this again? When is this going to come back into play?
Yeah.
Then you start taking mental notes. I'm like, okay, will this come back later on in the show?
Yeah, and like I know the kid that goes to like the Marines, he comes back and all of that, and I'm sure the dude that's in the treasure box will come back. Like the only episode that I really enjoyed was like Zoro's backstory, where he's like training and everything, and then it's like, you meet this really interesting female character, and then it's like, oh, she died by falling down stairs, and I'm like, is
Huh?
that I'm like, is that her like mortal enemy? Is like stairs, like her kryptonite? And I'm like, okay, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But yeah,
I mean, I had a
uh,
GameStop boss who kept slipping in the shower, so I mean, it's entirely possible.
I guess so. At least yeah, well, it was raining or whatever. So our One Piece journey is kind of on pause, but I'm waiting for Netflix to do their version of
Yeah.
the anime side of
Where it's
things.
like condensed it, like a
Yeah.
remake essentially.
Like Dragon Ball Kai, Dragon
Yeah.
Ball Z Kai was and everything. So, along with that, started Fairy Tail. I'm enjoying it. It's kind of those like you pick up every now and then when you just want a one-off kind of episode or whatever
Right.
at the moment. And then we watched the entirety of My Hero Academia. It was Amy's first time through My Hero, and watching it all the way through, like just like literally like a month or two. Man, that show was so good. Just
Yep.
so good.
So
And like
fantastic.
and just knowing where it goes and like seeing things earlier on and even watching the movies
Mhm.
in that, which some of them are better than others, but man,
Right.
it's so good. If y'all have not watched My Hero, what are you doing with your life?
I
And
know.
then I tried Parasite the Maxim. I got into like
Oh, okay.
season 2 or something like that. It's interesting. It's literally not on my list to watch anymore right now. It's just like,
Okay.
okay, I might go back to it, but it's not. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then we watched. I may be a guild receptionist, but I'll solo anything to clock out on time per your recommendation. Fun show. I loved seeing Fern's actress like in
Yeah.
a totally like different
Not
light and
not
everything.
reserved and stoic like she normally
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, like on this very high end emotion kind of side of things. And dude, it was a really good show. I didn't really connect with the story because
Right.
even the twist, like at the end of the first season, I was like, eh,
Yeah.
it was
It's one
kind
of
of
those
like,
where you're enjoying it for the character, not so because it's one of let me rephrase it. It's one of those where the character made the show, not so much the story. Like
yes,
a lot of the times, like with Attack on Titan, with My Hero, the characters in the story when they both mesh, it's like beautiful harmony. But then you have some where like the characters are forgettable, but the story is great, and vice versa. And this is one of those instances where the main actress or the main character, despite a subpar story, is making it enjoyable to watch and makes you keep wanting to watch because they're so enticing and just have crazy antics. It's like, oh, this means overtime? No, like just crazy. Like seeing her, the inner monologues was like what sealed it for me. That I'm like, this is just a different role for her. They just said, cut loose, girl.
now, hey, I totally understand
Yeah,
the whole
me
overtime
too.
thing. I'm like, I do not want to deal with that at all. So, but that's what I've been watching on top of the stuff we'll talk a little bit further on. But Derek, what have you been watching? And before Derek answers that, let us know what you have been watching down in the comments below.
All right, strap in because
Hold on.
I have been
Amy says, yeah,
Go ahead.
working overtime was fun, but didn't really feel like it was going anywhere. Yeah,
fair.
feel that. Now, Derek, what have you been watching?
So I'm going to start off as I talked about last episode back in January that I'm going back. Since I've started watching it, weekly, like getting into this whole shtick. I decided to go back and check to see what the other seasons have brought, from 2025 onward, and that's why I started there is because I started watching in summer. So just happened to pick where I started doing the thing. So I've watched through all of the spring lineup from last year, and some of my big ones to talk about are Kowloon Generic Romance. And let me tell you, this one is very interesting. It starts off with um, two people, like a guy and a girl, one named Reiko, the other one named Hajime. They are working as, real estate consultants in Kowloon City, which is called the Walled City, which looks, from the outside, it's like, outside is just like a desert, you know what I mean? But inside it's like weird. It looks like weirdly stacked buildings, all this kind of stuff. Like not run down necessarily. There are some rundown parts, but it just looks like it was put together. But they're living out their lives, and then they have this cast of characters, and then you start noticing about a couple episodes in that something happens. Like the Reiko starts noticing, hey, I'm having memories that I shouldn't be having, or like I'm recognizing places that I've never been. Like, why is that? And then you start to realize that there's not it's not a trope, but there's this like overarching thing that everyone could potentially experience. I'm not going to get into it, but it's a 13 episode romp. It is a very fun watch, and like the twist behind the city as to why, because all of a sudden there's this like not a diamond, but like I don't know what the shape to call it. It's like if it's like two triangles, like or two pyramids were stacked. One was facing down, the other one was facing up, and their bases were connected together. It's sort of like that. I guess it's like a version of a diamond or like a gem, like The Sims, like when you have one over something like that. It's just hovering over, and I'm like, what is the purpose of this? And then you find out, and I'm like, oh, okay. Now there is some it's not overly shoved in your face. There is some progressive stuff that is used in this thing that might offset some people, but because one threw me for a loop. It's just like it was like one of the brought up in just casual conversation. I'm like, whoa, okay, I wasn't expecting this, but okay. It was with one of the side characters, but it is a very intriguing story. Like, despite the name, nothing is generic about this show. It feels like once it gets into like the whole thing. So yeah, I definitely recommend, as if you're looking for a new anime, just as a little bit of a different like mystery sort of thing. I definitely recommend checking that out. Some other ones that I know, a couple of them that I know you've watched, Zach. One of them is To Be Hero X, and that is a fun show. And if we're talking about what ifs, if Overwatch decided to do an anime, this would be the one, because and it's like the script writes itself, because they've already done the shorts. It has a similar, like, I know they change animation styles throughout the show, but like the overarching animation that they use is very similar to how Overwatch uses it for their shorts. It's like, just do that and just do a character, because you have different factions, different companies with different heroes underneath their wing. It just makes sense. But I digress. Like, seeing how like some of these arcs, just like the way it starts, where one of these famous heroes just kind of like goes off in a sense, and then the guy watching him becomes the new version, unintentionally, and then the way it plays out, and then it leads into like the next one. Like, stuff happens, and then it leads into the next character focus, and then that one ties into the next. Like, the way it just kind of connects into itself, but then it takes a turn to where before some of these events happen, and then connects those pieces together. But then when we get to the episode where they all kind of converge, like in a mine or whatever it is, that's where it starts to like because you're starting to piece it together even before that, because like Ghost, or what, let me see, what's one, like the number 5 hero, Ghostblade, which is a great name, by the way.
Oh yeah.
So when he starts to like, when he shows up, I'm like, oh, what's he about? And then it shows him doing his thing, and then like the connection with um the who is it? The Johnnies. His connection to the Johnnies. Oh my god. Crazy. Like the Johnnies backstory, like starting out from when they became heroes to how they got to a certain point where the Ghostblade story lines up. Oh my god, it is heartbreaking, and it's just like, wow, this is really cool. And then you see stuff happen, and then X is introduced, which is like the mystery number 1 hero that nobody could beat, because you see Queen, like her story was really intriguing too, because it's like, all right, I need to be number 1 to reach my goal and to be able to do XYZ, and then she just loses. Or I think she does reach, like, like she is number 1 for a minute, and then X
She
comes
is.
in, and then she wakes up and she's just like, I lost? Like, what is this? And then they keep trying, and no one can beat him. The only gripe I have with the show is the end, right? Because it hints on a lot of things, have like, especially like when the dog character, who is voiced by, I think, Chris Sabat, by the way. Let me verify that really quick. Hold on. Yep, Ahu. Yep, voiced by Chris Sabat, of all people. Like, he goes on the hunt, like he's sleuthing, he's investigating X, and then he realizes, And just when you start to see the pieces come together about the bigger picture, X just is like, all right, I'm out. Like they're having the tournament, and he's just like, I'm out. And then it's just left. And then characters that you thought were gone are coming back. I'm like, what is happening? It's like, why did it end it here? And I'm intrigued to see what happens, because if you look on it, like if you look on Wikipedia, it doesn't say season 2 is confirmed, but if you type in, it says, oh yeah, it's going to have another 24 episode second season. I'm just like, okay, so apparently it is going to have a follow up. So I can't wait to see. It's going to be, I think, 2027. So can't wait to see. By the way, 2027, if all the stuff comes out that's supposed to, is going to be another great year. Like this year started off great, but next year is going to be really great.
Just real quick before you go to the next one, To Be Hero X, I think is what Shy should have been. Like, I watched Shy, I think in the winter or whatever, but I feel like the way it is able to do character storytelling, but still have interesting things that are happening across the world that they live in, I think is so good. And being able to tie things in, like the big bad wolf or whatever it was with Stilt Man or whatever his name was, like that was just so well done. And I highly suggest anyone that's wants to watch like a superhero anime that's not My Hero Academia, this is one to definitely check out.
Yep. And so, and again, I think it's another like manhwa dongwa anime that, again, I know there are some bad ones out there, but so far the ones we watched haven't missed. And we'll get into another one here in a little bit later that I watched. But yeah, To Be Hero X, I'm excited to see where this goes. Like, hopefully it answers some of the questions from the finale. But I digress. The next one, Zach, and we could talk about at least the first season of this one, Windbreaker. That was great. Like, man, I haven't watched Tokyo Revengers, but man, if it's anything, because I know they compare the two, if this is anything like Tokyo, if Tokyo Revengers is just as good as Windbreaker, if not better, I'm in for a treat. But man, that first season is dope. Like, you get introduced to Sakura, who hears about Bofarine, who, back in the day, they used to be a ragtag gang of like, delinquents, just tearing up the town. And then one day they just kind of like, you know what? Some people changed, like the next regime came in and it's like, look, we need to serve a purpose here. And instead of destroying the city, how about we make it better? And now they're like, people treat them with respect. They're like the town heroes. They just start throwing things at them. Like, here, have my whole entire like inventory of like bean buns or whatever. I'm like, wow, okay, they like really love this group. And you see why. Like, yeah, the school is still run down, like there's graffiti everywhere, and I don't think they really have class. That's just basically their base of operations.
There's no teachers at all in this school.
No, for sure. But then, like on his way there, like of course he meets like the cafe person, who's like serves as like the second base of operations, essentially. Like that's like the chill spot, like after a big thing, just go there, have a good meal. And then of course, she gets into trouble, and like the some of the Bofarine people come there, and like they mean business. They're not there to goof off. They're going to rock your world. And Sakura holds his own, and he impresses a lot of the people, like as is a first year, and he's like, okay, we can vibe with you. Good job, kid. And then his big thing is like, he never had, as you watch the show, right? Sakura is a very intriguing character. Like, yeah, he comes off as sort of a ditz and doesn't know how to take compliments, but you understand why. Like, he had a rough upbringing. Like, he never knew what positive, what positivity was, what being thanked was like being, honored and like thanked and whatever. But he can fight. That dude, like, I know if it was he would be the gorilla in the 100v1. You know what I mean? Like, but then you meet like the main, like as you're starting to figure out the cast of characters, like Suo, the guy with the eye patch. There's more to him than meets the eye. Like, and every time it's asked, unintentionally, but it was good. There is more to him than lets on, because every time they keep asking, it's like, oh, why, how are you so this, or blah blah, like like you're so nice or whatever, and he kind of just deflects, and like he kind of hints, like teasing, it's like, I'm not that great. I'm like, okay, like I want to get to know more about it. I hope they do flesh out his character more, because he is definitely the most intriguing of the
He
characters.
reminds me of Captain Levi in a way.
Ah, yes, good point. Very good point. Um, but dude, like that first fight they get into, like with Shishiden, oh my god. Like, the whole squad pulls up. Like the leader is insane, by the way, and he is voiced by I meant to look it up, but the only one that you would know off rip, I know him and other stuff, but he voices the same guy. Remember in the overhaul arc in My Hero in season 4, where they go to the raid, and then that little like guy who can mold with the walls
Yeah.
and change it, he voices that same dude,
Okay.
as the leader. And seeing him play like this crazy character, I was just like, okay, this is a very different take for him.
Well, he
And
was
then
kind
Chris
of
Guerrero's in
crazy.
there too.
He was kind of crazy in the overhaul arc, especially like when he went kind of insane closer to the end of
Right.
it, But yeah, Chris Guerrero, keep going.
Chris Guerrero is his number 2, and I'm just like, oh, okay. And their ideology of like, oh, if you can't be perfect, you don't deserve to be in it. And I'm like, that's okay. And then Sakura doesn't vibe with that, because he starts to feel like having a sense of family. And it's like, look, regardless of if the character's weak or not, he's still like, that's not how you get better, and that's not how you better the group. And they're just like, no.
I loved the storytelling in that whole like arc, that fight and everything of, oh man, it was so good. I sorry, that like tickled my brain.
Yeah,
I was like, I gotta say something.
I know. But and then when they pull up to the school and they challenge the boss, like, because you meet the boss of Bofarine, and he just seems like a ditz. You know what I mean? He seems like if Lemillion was a little bit more chill, but still Lemillion. You know what I mean? And then you meet, of course, like they talk about the Four Kings, but they really don't play a part in the first season. And you see these two nobodies that was part of the group when they did this encounter initially, like take an interest in like what, like pretty much the gorilla of the group, like the first year, that's just like quiet but doesn't like Sakura, like wants to challenge him on everything. And then Suo, and I called it immediately, because you can, like, I've watched enough combat anime to know when I smell blood in the water. When they openly challenged Suo and the other guy, I'm just like, you're gonna get your what pushed in. And I'm just like, I knew. Let me hold on. Give me 1 second. Da, 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 da. Sugishita. Sugishita is the guy, the tall guy. I'm just like, he's gonna one hit this dude initially, and then when they get to like, it's a whole song and dance. He does it. They do it on Shishiden's turf. They do it in an amphitheater, and Sugishita is the first one up. I'm like, go ahead, prove me right. And he just slams his face into the ground, and then like that was it. I'm like, called it, called it. And then Suo didn't even break a sweat. He just like toying with his prey. It's like seeing all the different fighting styles too is crazy to see and interesting. And just seeing him just like toy with his food, I'm just like, yeah, it's over, Chief. Just hang it
That's
up.
why it feels like Captain Levi. One, Captain Levi, he's very unassuming when you see him or whatever.
Yeah.
But the like level of just butt kicking he's able to do, it's just
Yep.
like, all right, go off, King.
Yeah, exactly. And and then of course Sakura has this fight, and the boss's thing is like, look, have your conversation. And he's like, well, we've tried talking. He's like, no, there's a different way to have a conversation. It's through your fists. And Sakura has that conversation with Chris Guerrero's character. And even though he's like starting to like snap, he's starting to understand. It's like, you know what? We weren't always like this, and it shows that flashback to like where it all went wrong type of deal. And the main like the main boss is like, he didn't start out that way. He's just like, man, I just want us to be the great group. And then when he gets that lead, it's almost like the person who's given the power for the first time that doesn't know how to use it properly, or was never taught how to use it properly, and abuses it. This is a case study on that example, because the moment he gets the power, he immediately starts implementing his ideology. And it's like, and even even his second in command is just like, and then he falls on the sword. He's like, look, you still need to be the guy the whole group rallies around because you are holding us together right now. I'll be the jerk who kicks everyone out and decides, if they, like you don't deserve to be here. And then you see, and then you realize it's like, look, I'm just gonna have a fun fight, and then Sakura ends up winning. I thought it was gonna end in a tie, honestly, but when he won, I was like, cool. And then the switch flips is like when the bosses get on stage, and then the lieutenant tries to talk to him, and he just immediately like kick flips him across the stage. I'm like,
Yep.
oh, buddy, whoa, this guy has no loyalty at whatsoever. So, and then seeing the conclusion to that was just so great. And like, it was just the first season was phenomenal. Like, what an introduction to like a new show. Like that's like very much like Tokyo Revengers. The second season is a little bit. It starts off with the fight against the next because it's the end of the first season sets up the conflict with the next group, and then of course the second season starts with that group fighting. The second group that they fight, Kill, it doesn't seem like it's that great. Like they have a numbers advantage. They use like pipes and bats and all that. Like they use stuff to give them the one up. And you think, Bofurine is, they're starting to wane. And that's when Sakura has another teachable moment where it's like, you can't break. Like you have to keep the team focused. You have to defend your people, or you have to trust your people to hold their own while you handle your business. Because if they're trying, they can't beat their opponent and try and help you at the same time. Like you got to give them that trust, but also be inspirational to keep them going forward. And then of course we see a character at the end like get up from the fight and was like, all right, this was fun. Now time to move on. I'm like, okay, this is going to come into play later. And then of course you have the meeting. It's sort of like meeting of the with the boss and the four kings was sort of like meeting the Hashira in Demon Slayer. It was just that ambiance that they carried, and each one of them is very different. Different styles, different interests, and all that. And then of course you see one of the four kings is going to be like one of the focal points, in a later arc, which leads to like seeing another group that's more of like an allied group to Bofurine that takes down, and then you just see like the rival group that is trying to take this young girl, that's like pretty much a great singer at a club, is like they just grow up on like, hey, you fight for your scraps, like we hardly get anything type of deal. And then you meet what we assume is going to be like the big bad, like I don't want to say like the final boss, but like one of the big bads later on, and everyone like his, I hate using this term because maybe it's just the millennial in me, but his aura, like everyone is just like stops in their tracks and they're like, what are you doing here? And then you kind of hear about his background and how he had like the bosses group had big fights with him and everything. And then you find out it's like, oh, but you took him down, right? And they're like, kind of not really. And it's like, what? So even the boss doesn't really know how this guy fights. And it's like, okay. So it is basically a setup for the next big conflict of the show, because apparently the big bad is doing something like behind the scenes. Like he is orchestrating like a big team up, so to speak. So I'm intrigued to see where season 3 goes. I don't remember if it's been confirmed or not, but Windbreaker has definitely been a great watch if you're wanting something, not even with a power system, just if you want to see great fights, go watch Windbreaker.
Yeah, I would agree.
Now,
the first season was fantastic. I need to get to the second season.
Right. So definitely check it out, Zach. I think you'll enjoy it, but I do think it is a little bit, compared to the first season, it is a little bit lower, but it still has that impact with like the combat and whatnot. Now a segment that I'm going to bring back, and I think I'm going to do, because I've been figuring out how to bring Hidden Gem back. You know what I mean? Because I ran out, and then we were watching big stuff, like, Solo Leveling, Freerin, Apothecary Diary, stuff that people talk about. It's not a hidden gem. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I figured when I'm watching through these seasons, I want to bring back one hidden gem of each season. And this one is, the one I picked is Aharen Sun is Indecipherable. It starts off with two people, Reina Aharen and Shota Raido. if you want to talk about two polar opposites, these are the ones, because she is, small girl, very quiet. Like, it even is like in the beginning, it's like, because they both start school, they're in the same class, they sit in the desk next to each other, the side by side. And Rido is like, his whole thing from middle school is he didn't really make friends. And he wants to say, I want to change that. I want to make one friend this year in my first year in high school. So he just happens to sit by Reina, and he's like, I want to make friends with you. And she is very hard to understand in the beginning. Like, she talks very low, very, very quietly. And he's just like struggling to hear and like trying to decipher what she wants to do. And then it's like he gets to a point where he understands her. And then it goes off from there, because then they want to have, they just do like the normal stuff, but it's like random normal stuff, and it's just like it's slice of life, like rom-com type of deal. The thing that stuck out to me the most about this show was the interactions. Like, Rido has a very wild imagination, as you'll learn to find out. Think about how when Anya thinks of things and like scenarios is like very like way out there type of deal. Rido takes it and runs with it. There's like one time like she comes in and she's just like big, and his immediate thought is, oh, she's bulking up. She wants to be a sumo wrestler and she wants to win the championship at sumo wrestling. And it's just basically like it was cold outside and she had too many layers on. She couldn't take them off. So it's just like the weird out there. The next one, I forget what the situation was, but it basically led Rido to think, oh, she's going to do world domination. And I'm like, bro, like I read the situation. I'm like, that's not what it was. But there was a tournament. I think it was like a pseudo Beyblade tournament. And I'm like, watch, she's going to be like a Beyblade expert. And she was. She's like, because she wins the whole thing. And she's like, and our defending champion wins again. I'm like, what in the world is this show? But it's their interaction. They come to basically come together. They do, they as a couple do couple things. There's not really any conflict per se. It's just about their journey together. And the great thing is, it's only 2 seasons, and I mean that as like, oh, it's only 2 right now. It's done. Like, the anime wrapped up in 2 seasons, so it is a very simple watch. I would think that is my hidden gem of spring 2025. So I would definitely recommend go checking that out. Next one, this is one is just like a short PSA for book lovers, because I didn't have high expectations for this just because I don't remember much of it, but Anne Shirley, it is based on the Anne of Green Gables book. I do think, from what I remember talking about it in grade school, I forget if it was like middle or high school where we talked about it, but from what I remember, the anime does seem to be pretty accurate. It does take like, the big points throughout the book and, puts that in anime form. I do think what I saw, I mean, people who've read the book or read the series or whatnot, tell me if I'm wrong, or tell me if it didn't do it justice. But I think from what I watched and from what the little bit I do remember, it did it justice. So if you're looking for something to like meld your real life with, anime world, this is the one to check out. So just give it a watch.
Amy's been curious about this one, so I think that helps solidify Anne Shirley into her watch list.
Got you. So good deal. Now, and I'll try and be quick on these. I immediately went into like the summer 2025 lineup. First one I want to talk about is Lord of Mysteries. And I know people like, this is a great, like, if you want a thriller, supernatural, like mystery type of thing, this has all of those rolled into one. I forget. So the main character is named Klein Moretti, but there's a guy who kind of like, they call it, I forget what the terminology is. It's like basically reincarnated into him. Like, I forget, but he was killed in a past life. And then he wakes up as Klein Moretti, but he wakes up in a crime scene because 2 people are dead. And then Klein apparently tried to kill himself essentially, but it failed because, he's got reincarnated. I don't know if it failed because the guy, the Klein was dead, but
the original person was no longer there.
Exactly.
And he took over the body.
Exactly. But then it goes off. And I know people like in the beginning, because it throws a lot of stuff. Like it shows the people, the power system, places of reference. And I know it's a lot to take in. But once you get a few episodes in, you start to realize like a pattern. It's like, okay, this is just bringing this up for general knowledge. Like you can forget this type of thing, or this character only serves the purpose for this episode. You don't really have to remember that type of thing. So once you get to the through line, it starts to become very clear. Now the power system is intriguing, but also doesn't, everyone has a different think of it like an RPG. Everyone has a different like class they want to choose from, right? And they start off at level 9 and you work your way up, you meet certain conditions and your power grows. Like of course when you get to like level 1, that's when you're like godlike essentially. And I think the highest one we meet like character wise is like I think level 6 or level 5. So like most of the people you meet are like level 8s and 9. So like the power system, while different and intriguing, not overly bearing. You don't see anything too crazy yet. And then of course once the mystery unfolds, because it all takes place about this notebook, from this family notebook, and everything, all these people want this and you're like, why? And that's the whole mystery, is like trying to understand what this purpose serves. And then it just goes into like crazy territory where just there's a sad part in it, because one of the side characters, something happens with them that you kind of get attached to them. It's just a fun watch. It's 13 episodes, but the shortest episode is 28 minutes, so it is like a trek to watch. So, and it is confirmed for a season 2. But yeah, and it's just a fun one. I would recommend going and watching it. It's just so fun. I know, Zach, you started episode 1 and never really got further into it, but I do recommend you give it a second shot.
It is on my list. Like Amy and I was watching it together and she wasn't feeling it. And that's pretty much where a lot of my anime watching happens, is with Amy. So I'll definitely have to jump back into it. Just before you jump to the next one, I wanted to hit Amy's comment. She's like, there is a series of classics adapted into mangas, and we need them to be made into anime. It could literally fix the literary crisis in America.
Fair enough.
There's one place in America, Derek, that I know they read, because we read.
Troy University.
Amy says, Lord of Mysteries confused me, but granted I only watched one episode.
Mm-hmm. So very, very intriguing. Like, and the more you get into it, like the more stuff is introduced that just kind of like expands it. It's great. No, you weren't into it either.
I don't know what you're talking about. Bane, welcome to the stream. Let us know what y'all are watching down in the comments below. Derek, what else have you been watching?
So the next one is, I was reincarnated as a 7th prince so I can take my time perfecting my magical ability. Season 1 was okay. It's like, of course, like this foreign magician, like the whole thing about the magic system in this world is you got to have the status and you got to have the knowledge. Like you got to take time to learn the knowledge of magic. Well, he had the knowledge. He just didn't have the, the status to basically gain more power, because it's sort of like Black Clover. Like the higher up you are, the more magical power you are given at birth or whatever type thing. So he died and was reincarnated, you guessed it, as the 7th prince. So he has the nobility, so he can gain, and he's a magic nerd. Like any kind of spell, like kind of like Freerin, any kind of spell that there is, he wants to know about it and learn it. So the first season, there's not much. I feel like it's not great. Like it serves its purpose. Like it has some good. It's like setting the foundation. Season 2, which aired during the summer, wow, it takes a dark turn, like in terms of like the stories, like the overall like setting, because there's this holy church that gets involved, that you go to, that you have like one of your sisters actually is a nun there, that is like they do like these performances with like one of the famous girls over there that just captivates everyone. And one of the side characters stumbles on something that feels off in the church, and then all of a sudden like this grand bishop comes out and it's like, yeah, you don't need to be here, and something's off, and the side character's like, nah, buddy, I need you to explain some things. Like, what is this? And then it delves into like a whole thing. Like it like I don't want to use this like to like water it down, but very, very light Attack on Titan-esque like twist a little bit, like very light, that they discover. And so like it was just like the second season, like just the pacing and the storytelling I think was better done because like the first season came out in 2024 or 2023, one of those two. And so the second season I think was vastly improved. I hope it gets another season. I would like to see how it progresses, but I thought it would be a little bit goofy given how long the name is, you know what I mean? Cuz we all know these it's not an isekai, but like these reincarnated things with long titles, very hit or miss.
Yeah, Joe's
Joe
like,
was like, no,
now
that's a
that's a
long
long
name.
name. Like one thing that I do love about like anime, they can cook a little bit. Like if they get enough of a following, like
Yeah.
when the second season like really knocks it out of the park. It's way more sad when the first season's great and then the second season's like,
Yep.
like
Yeah.
oh gosh, what is that? The boxing one that we love. I can't.
Megalobox.
Megalobox. First season, phew, some of the best stuff you ever gonna watch. And
Yep.
then second season, not as good. It's still good, but it's not as good.
Yeah. Next one is the Rascal Does Not Dream series. It's another rom com. It's very much more on the. It says it's a rom com, but it also is supernatural. So Sakata is the main character. He's very like one of those melancholy, like very like chill high schoolers that's just now starting out in high school, and he's in the library, and all of a sudden he sees this girl walking around in like a bunny girl costume, and he's like, "What? What? This is weird." Then he comes to find out that no one else can see her but him. And now it's like, and she's like a famous child actor in the world. So it's like, okay, like what's the deal? And now the whole stick is like, because you meet several characters that all experience the same thing. It's called puberty syndrome. Very, very weird name for just saying puberty. But what it does is like, and of course, there's like some supernatural stuff to it, like time travel and like like, but it all deals with different variations of puberty. Like this one girl like that has the ability, like he meets in like the second arc, Groundhog Day. They're reliving the thing, but it's sort of like, okay, it deals with anxiety. It's like, okay, how can I play this situation out differently? It's like whether it's like you want it to happen or whether you don't want it to happen, type of deal. And there's a twist with that makes it reveal that she actually has a different ability that I don't want to get into. But Mai, who is the main heroine, who ends up becoming his girlfriend, deals with like, okay, what if you step away? Will people remember you? Like, how do you like, like after you, because she stepped away from child acting for different reasons, like that involved her mother, that gets revealed as to why, and people just kind of forget about her, even though you see her face plastered everywhere, and for advertisements, it's like people don't they see you on the screen, but they don't recognize you in real life. It's like disassociation. And everyone, even Sakata himself, deals with like different types of puberty syndrome. So that it's kind of weird how they released it, because they did it this first season, then the next three movies, the next three arcs that they did was movies, and then the latest one that came out in summer was just like an episodic season. So, and then of course they're going to end the whole light novel series with another movie. So, but it's all like the first movie, like the second and third movies are okay. That first movie is heart wrenching, because you find out, because something happens with his sister that basically makes her, like, again, her puberty syndrome forced her to create like a whole other version of herself that kind of is like more childlike, that but doesn't want to leave the house type of deal. And because of this, Sakata had to deal with this, like, and no one believed him, because hers forced her to have bruises appear on her body, and when he would show like his teachers and everything, no one would believe him. So he meets this girl who ends up, like, before he meets Mai, obviously when he's in middle school when this happens, that gets her, that she helps him get through all this and sees the light at the end of the tunnel, and ends up being his first love. But then she never sees her again for a while, until the first season, and then her story gets in the first movie, and it is heart-wrenching. Stuff happens that I'm just like, my jaw hits the floor. Like, it is very emotional, and I'm just like, it was so well done. And then the second, or the season two, I guess you can say, like the episodic one, was really good as well, like dealing, because they're in university by this point, like they all these journeys lead, the first couple of movies and the first season deal with their journeys through high school, then they get to university and deal with a whole other thing. So I think it's a very well done series. It's not, it has comedy, but it's very dry humor, but it was still well done for what it does. Amy, puberty is tough enough, man. That sucks. I'm like, yeah, it does. So
Dan says, "Yo, I love Rascal."
yeah, it is a very interesting series. I definitely would recommend checking that out if you haven't, because it started in 2018. So, but they just did, but I think they just started dubbing it a few years ago.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'll watch sub if I have to. I know.
Well, it's
I know
all
that.
dubbed.
Yeah, I know. But I'm saying, like, most of the time, like, we don't watch any sub in the house right now.
Fair enough.
Unless I really want to get ahead on something. Like, if Solo Leveling season 3 came out right now, I'd be watching sub.
Like how you did with Demon Slayer. Like, oh, they didn't want to dub it right away? Nah, I gotta watch it. The last couple ones I want to talk about real quick is A Couple of Cuckoos. It has 2 seasons. The second season premiered in summer. It starts off with, again, 2 characters. You guessed it. This one is more of a true rom-com, in my opinion. Nagi Umino and then Erika Amano. They meet by happenstance. Like, he's just a normal guy going through it. Like, he lives with his parents, who they're not broke, but they make ends meet, but they're not living comfortably. And then one day they're like, "Hey, yeah, you were switched at birth. And your real parents want to meet you." And he's like, "Okay." So he goes. So I was like, "Okay, after school we'll meet. We'll meet at this place for dinner." So he's on his way to school, and he's crossing a bridge, and he sees this girl on the railing, and that's Erica, and he thinks that she's gonna jump, when it was just she was live streaming, because she's like an influencer or whatever. So she's doing that because her parents are forcing an arranged marriage on her, and she's trying to do everything like to get their attention. It's like, look, if you don't get me out of this, I will jump or whatever. Like, she won't, but Nagi freaks out and like saves her, and then it ensues because she has something happens, and she's like, "Oh, I'll have blackmail on you now. I want you to be my boyfriend to basically see if this will get my parents out of the arranged marriage." Funny enough, when they meet at dinner, the arranged marriage is with Erica and Nagi, and it turns out they were switched at birth. So Nagi's current parents that he's grown up to know are really Erica's parents, and vice versa. And she lives like because she's an influencer. Her parents are like her dad, like her mom's like a media mogul, and her dad is like a hotel tycoon. So she is very well off. Like, she has multiple summer houses and all this kind of stuff. So she's very like a spoiled rich kid. And so they meet, and they're like, this is awkward. And but they play it out. And then other characters get involved, because now Nagi's sister, who was actually birthed by his foster parents, we'll just say, is no longer his sister. So now she starts having different feelings. It's like, but it kind of hints at like she just wants attention from him, and it's not very it doesn't really hint that it's romantic, but it kind of plays off as that. And then you kind of have like his actual romantic interest, who is basically his like academic rival. Like, he took an interest in her, but then he heard that she only likes people who are smarter than her, because she's like number one, like in all like the tests and everything in school. So his whole motivation is to study his butt off, like any second he has is studying just to beat her. And then he does, and then she's like, and then it awkwardly plays, because it turns out she's in an arranged marriage too.
What is going on in this anime with these arranged marriage, dog?
I know, dude. And then it goes on, like the season plays out to where it's like all of them are like, once each other, like, of course all of them are friends, like all like the sister Erica and his rival all become friends. And then it's like when they find out, like, all of them are kind of like have an interest in him in some way or another, it turns into like this 3-way battle. And just when you think one of them might pull the lead, something happens and the other one takes it. And so it's like this whole back and forth. And then the second season, one of his childhood friends comes back, and that was basically like the girl he first confessed love to. I mean, they were like 6 or 7, so it means nothing, but still, it's like, and she's like, comes back, is like, "All right, are we ready to get married?" And it's like, bro, like, I mean,
whoa,
it is so crazy. Like, it is crazy, but the humor in it is very great. It is like especially the situational humor is like just so wonderfully done. I definitely recommend going to check that out. But the
Like
last one,
the
go ahead.
the thing that gets me is like I understand it's no longer his sister, but then it's like, oh, I actually like you. I'm like, that's a little weird.
I know it's still weird.
That's a
'Cause it's like,
little
I grew up with you,
weird.
bro. Like I grew up
Yeah,
with
it's
you. Like
like
what are you doing?
I still see
Um,
you as a sis. You know what I mean?
right.
Like,
And he even kind of actually hints at that too. Like he even kind of like says that. It's like, still see you as just my sister. Um, and by the way, too, like the whole switch to birth, Erica has pink hair, Nagi has black hair. So it's like, how do you get them mixed? Because it's a
yeah,
medical mishap. I'm like, how do you let that happen? How do you let them walk out of the hospital with a whole different child? I'm like, I don't get that.
yeah. And it's like at this point, it's like, uh, Amy said, that's some backwoods stuff.
Ding, 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 ding.
That's kind of like Barry and Iris. Yeah, like, but they knew that they weren't. You
Yeah,
know what I
they
mean?
knew going in.
It's like, yeah, they grew up together,
Yeah,
but
because they were like they were next door neighbor best friends.
yeah, and then it was like, oh, you're living with Joe and all of that. Like, I feel like that's a little different than, uh,
Oh, my brother's not my brother.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All
So
right, Derek, take it home.
the last one I want to talk about, and again, I'm only about just under halfway through the summer lineup. So I'm not declaring this, but it has a strong case to be a potential hidden gem. And that is dealing with Mikadono sisters is a breeze. The four characters that, like, there's other characters, but the four ones, so it starts off with a guy named Yu Ayase. So his mother was a pretty much prodigy actress, like TV, movie, like she grew up, she was like the star of that world, right? She unexpectedly gets an illness and passes away. Well, one of her friends, Mr. Mikadono, agrees to take him in, and he meets all this. Of course, his job keeps him away, so he moves in, and he has three daughters, and they're all prodigies at their craft. You've got Kazuki, who is the oldest and is basically like the entertainment like prodigy. Like she does a lot of acting. She excels at that. Then you have Nico, who is like kind of tomboyish, but is like your athletic prodigy. She's like the captain of her karate team. Like she's the same age as you. Like I think they're like sophomore age or whatever. So as a sophomore, she's already captain of her karate team and aces. Like she wins all these tournaments, that kind of deal. And then the last one you have is Miwa, who is the academic prodigy. Like she is a shogi master. No one can beat her. She's like the like just any tournament, just like Nico, any tournament she gets in, she wins. So, and each
Quick
of them have
question.
different. Yeah.
Would Shikamaru beat her?
Ooh. I can't answer that truthfully because I don't know how. I know shogi is like a version of chess, but it's a little bit different. I don't know. I think they would be on. I think Shikamaru would pull it out, but it wouldn't surprise me if Miwa got in a game or two here or there. Or she would make it close.
Okay.
So, and she is the baby of the group too. But the voice but the whole moral of this is Yu is average. Like he's not good at anything. So basically, he is a mediocre person living in a world of prodigies, but what he excels at, because when he first gets there, he sees like, of course, with them being busy with all this, that, and the other, the house is a pigsty, and he cleans it up in record time. And like the sisters at first are like, I don't know if we want you here. You know what I mean? Like you're not good at anything. You don't serve any purpose. And then all of a sudden they come to a clean house and they're like, you know what? Maybe this will work out. And then he learns that he knows how to cook and makes really great food. And they're like, and he really takes an interest. It's like, oh, this is for Nico. This is like your macros essentially for you to be at your physical peak. And she's like, huh? He really did his research. And like Miwa is like, hey, look, you love sweets, but this will keep your brain stimulated without like the sugar crash. And she's like, huh? They're all taken aback by how much like how much what's the word I'm looking for? I'm blanking out. How much care he takes
Common
into
sense.
well, that too, but and then so he's like, no, he serves a purpose, and then it turns out like because his mother's like last wish in the notebook that she left him was, I want you to find be a happy family, or like want you to like find a happy family and you like build one, and so he thinks. Obviously, we know what that means, but he thinks it's just like living with people and like treating them as sisters, right? But then as we play him out, we learn that the dad comes in and like he is very like strict to the point businessman. He comes in and like the whole demeanor changes, and he's just like, all right, give me a rundown real quick of what you've accomplished, and then just do that. Like it's very somber, very stoic, like like you can cut the tension with a knife type of deal. And then it gets to you, and he's just like, yeah, I've looked into you. You're not good at anything. Why should I let you live in my house? Like I brought you in thinking we could find your potential with my daughters, and so far you're not doing that. And the daughters defend him because of how much care he's shown them, like because the daughters only know how to be like very straightforward, cutthroat, like down to business thing. And you was bringing stuff out of them, like emotional wise, like that teenage girls should be experiencing. And they're like, no, he serves a purpose. And then the dad leaves it alone. And then it goes off to where they each experience, has an interaction with each of the sisters, like their own different arcs, that you find something else. Like, so Kazuki, the troop she's in is all girls. So she, most of the lead roles are male incorporated. So she naturally takes it on. Well, her dad challenges her with finding a female lead role. Well, she's played a male so long that she doesn't know how to, really get in touch with her feminine side type of deal. And you basically come to find out, like, you helps her accept that, hey, if you try it anyway, and if you're not good at it, cool, work on it. Then it's okay to fail, and what you learn in failure, you can make yourself better. Then Nico, you come to find out that like, yeah, she's a tomboy, but her dad kind of led her in that direction because she was so good at athletics that she actually likes girly and frilly things, and actually likes her sisters, because that's the whole thing. They lived so different lives, they didn't know how to be sisters to each other, and you helps them kind of make them care about wanting to be like with each other. And then Miwa, you learn that, yeah, she wanted just to find her niche, but she doesn't love her passion like her other sisters do, and she just kind of felt like she had to be in love with Shogi, because that she had to basically not compete with her sisters, but have something in common with her sisters. And Yu's like, look, yeah, you felt like you had to do this, but make it your own. Like, just kind of like the revelation that you kind of find out, like, is very, very well done. And I want to give a shout out, like, Nico, even though each sister has their moment, Nico, because I guess because of the same age, kind of hits it off with you a little bit more. Like, they have more scenes with you together. Madeline Morris, like the voice actress of Nico, does a fantastic job. Like, just her tomboyish natures, like, to like the embarrassing parts, like like when she lets like the girly girl slip out a little bit. Very well done. She stuck out to me. I hope this show gets a second season. So,
Wow, that is Derek's potential hidden gem. We don't know if it'll actually make it all the way to a hidden gem yet, but it's potential. A few comments real quick. Dan says, what I'm watching this season is Descendants of a Bookworm, which we get a new season that just started. Demons of the Shadow Realm, which we'll be talking about a little bit later, potentially. One Piece, Mystoria, Wand and Sword, Always a Catch, Warrior Princess, and the Barbarian King, and Dr. Stone. And then Bane says he's been watching Re:Zero, the new season.
Oh yeah, that one's airing as well. So
yeah,
I haven't watched that yet. I'm going to once once the spring is done. But
yeah, a lot of great stuff. Let's talk about the winter 2026 anime that we've been watching and getting into and everything. And just so everybody knows, JJK finished up today.
In dub, yeah.
In dub.
It's been done for a couple of weeks, but the dub just finally finished today.
Yeah, so...
We're not going to spoil anything.
Yeah. Well, if we do, we'll warn you. But man, JJK Season 3, I feel like was good,
Mm-hmm.
but not season 2 good.
Right, and I agree. Like, of course, this is just part one of the culling game, right? Like,
Yes.
obviously, like we kind of got led astray because we assumed like, oh, season three would be 2 parts, and then at the end of the season, they're like, oh, we're going to do a season four, and it's going to cover part two of the culling game. Like, okay, and didn't give a release date, which makes me wonder. It's like, okay, it'll be a couple years before we
Yeah.
get this. Maybe we'll see. But I agree. Like, did it have its moments? Like the first
Oh
episode,
yeah.
the Maki episode, even the finale today. Like, all had great points. Um, by the way, one of the characters, I'll tell you who afterwards, but one of the characters I found out was voiced by Alex Lee. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, in the finale today. So, anyway, they had their moments, and when they had their moments, it was done great. Like we talked about it in our first 2 episode reaction. They started off with a bang, you know what I mean? Like it started off great, like it got those tensions rising. Then it kind of tapered off. Like I think the worst, and maybe if we go back and watch it, like it started in the earlier seasons, but I feel like the crux of the season for JJK was the explanation of things. You know what I mean? And even
Yes.
like when they're explaining like the power system, it's like, okay, well it can do this, and then it's like, oh, when they introduce a counter, it's like, well, it can do this, and then I'm like, okay, it makes them sound like they don't know their own power system essentially, like because everything can counter it. Everything can
Yeah.
counter everything at different points, but especially when it got to the culling game rules, like we both lamented on it. It was just like even watching it in English was just like, my God, like I don't understand. Like you told me it, and you keep popping the rules up, and I still don't understand it. So I think their weakness for sure was explaining how things work and like how because even with one of like the characters that we meet, like the duo, like Hakari and Kirara, like them explaining her ability, I'm just like, I don't get it. Like you're explaining it and showing it to me, and I kind of get it, but I don't get it. And I'm just like, please, somebody make it clearer. So, but again, when the action was on, it was on, you know, and they did sell it well. So I do think there was definitely some upsides to this season, and I'm intrigued to see how it goes from here in part two because apparently part two gets even crazier from what I've been told. But part one had its moments, but I don't like you said, season two, like of course, you know, when they had the Gojo and Geto backstory, that was done. But when the Shibuya incident happened, once it started, it didn't let go. This one definitely was some peaks and valleys with season three.
Yeah, I feel like it definitely was. I understand you got to slow down to speed up, just like with the first part of season 2. It did like have its slower moments, but you had this like underlying tension the whole time.
Correct.
With this, I agree. I built this out. It is literally a culling games. I'll put this in the chat for everybody. But this is, you should be able to read it. Explains the entire coloring games, like the original 8 rules, and then the rules added, and then Kenjaku's real thing, the colonies, Kagone, all of that. So if you're confused, which it's very easy to get confused with it, this will help you, and it's not to mention, like I watched it in sub. That episode 3, I think it was.
Yeah, and you were like, dude, what is going on?
Yeah, I was like, okay, maybe. And then I watched it in dubbed, and then I watched it again with Amy, and Amy was so angry. Amy was so angry at this just because of the way it is. Amy's like, oh my God, why are you trying to trigger me? I think that is one of the things, and I love that it literally has like a trend on TikTok, like the song. It's like curse technique, and you know, that sort of deal. Did I didn't push any of that live, did I? Did everybody see the thing? This thing? Did I send it? Yeah, I think I said that live. Anyway,
so.
Okay, cool. If you see it, then everybody else sees it. but yeah, like I feel like that is the one weak spot of it, because like the highs were so high, but
Mm-hmm.
the rest of it felt like super slow. I did love Hikari and all of that. Like I enjoyed that part
Mm-hmm.
of the season, and like Megami and all of that. It felt like there was just moments where we didn't get the same love as we got in the previous seasons.
For sure.
And
And I know it was a lot of this dealt with like the build up to it. I get that, right? So, but you can't again. We're like, and it's hard to replicate, when you have a build up to like the next big event.
yeah, but dude, that last episode, I'm not going to get into the specifics.
Oh
Mappa,
boy,
oh my god,
they were in their
Mappa,
bag.
yeah, dude, it was insane. Like y'all need to go watch it, because I feel like Mappa was like, hold my beer,
Yeah.
let's show off, because man, it was amazing, absolutely amazing.
So and yeah, so like we said, the last episode is out in dub. So if you've been waiting to binge it, now's the time. Go ahead and binge it, and be just as confused on episode 3 as we are.
Yeah.
So
Amy's like, yeah, it was so bad it's literally become a meme. Yeah, it definitely has been. But I enjoyed season 3 just because it was more of JJK and everything. But yeah, it definitely it had its good moments. But that Maki stuff.
yeah, chef's kiss for sure.
Now, I don't know if you know this, Derek. I found this out today.
Okay.
Reggie's star is close to register. And what does registers print out?
Receipts.
Receipts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Just great.
Yeah. I'm just like, you got to be freaking kidding me over here. Oh, Amy just made the culling game rules. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The next one, which the last dub episode will air tomorrow, is Freerun Beyond Journey's End Season 2. And you want to talk about how stuff just, continues to build. This season, I think, really did a job of just continuing where the first season left off. Like, obviously, again, the big conflict with the first class mage exams. Of course, they're on their journey. They're continuing their journeys in the Northern Lands, and just seeing the continued interaction and character growth, it just continues to be the staple and the shining star of the show. And we see it in the first episode, just how Freerun's just like, yeah, we try. Like, I didn't wake up because I trust you implicitly, Stark. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, and I think that is a boost of confidence for Stark. And we see that later on in like the big conflict, where we see one of the proctors for the first class mage exam come back, or a couple of them come back for a little bit of a revenge tale. And my God, that fight was insane as well. And that was, I think, a shining moment for Stark. Definitely because he got the kill at the end. And I can't wait to see. Obviously, it's setting up the next, like, after that. We have the last couple episodes setting up the next arc, which sounds intriguing from what I read from the premise. I know you've read the manga, Zach, so I'm sure you know what's going to happen next. Can't wait for the season to. Can't wait to see what next. We're getting season 3. Obviously, season 2 is a little bit shorter due to the mangaka's health and stopping the manga indefinitely. Hopefully, it's not airing till fall of 2027, so hopefully that gives them more time to rest up, get well, and continue on the journey with Freerun. Because once we get caught up, if we do get caught up, it's going to be a while before we get any new material. So, what were your overall thoughts on season 2, Zach? Can't hear you.
I loved season 2.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are going to try to compare this to like season 1, where you
Right.
have like the back half is the mage's exam.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, you can compare it. You can talk about it, whatever, if you want. But the thing that you've got to really think about is the pacing that is in this show is
Mhm.
way different than any other manga that's really out there.
Yeah.
It takes like it's kind of slice of life in a way, but then it has these really big epic, like it's almost like Lord of the Rings, where it does kind of draw some stuff out, you know, and it's like this isn't going like literally Frodo's journey took years upon years upon years to get to Mount Doom, and it's like, yeah, we get the Peter Jackson version of it that, you know, you see it in 3-hour movies or whatever, but I think the season 2 did a really good job of continuing to develop the characters, because we definitely get to see Freeran shine in season 1, even in season 2, but I feel like we really got to see more of Stark and Fern coming into their own.
One of the episodes where it's like, again, Stark ticks off Fern in typical fashion, and then it's like, how do I make it up to her? And then Freeran's like, take her on a date, you know, make it up to her. And then like he actually takes the time to learn about the thing. Like, even though he knows hardly anything, it's like the things he does know, he tries to make it like the whole thing, to make it, to basically make her interested. And it was so well done in that regard. And even though like Fern's like, I could have just been, you know, this could have just been done well, and it's like, or you could have just gotten me this. And while it seems like a slap in the face, it's still, she still appreciates the thought that you put into the whole thing.
Yeah, and it was just like, you know, you could really tell that it felt more like teenagers like trying to date. It's like, oh, let me go talk to the person that knows her best. Oh, well, they like this, this, and this, and it's like, okay, I'll do this, this, and this, and it's like, this just seems like what I would do with Mistress Freeran. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, well, yeah, because I talked to her, and she her. Yeah. But it shows how much that he cares. And you know, even like you see Fern, I like Fern is probably one of my favorite characters. Like all three of them are great, but like her attitude, like when that
the whole like puffy face.
Like when they're trying to like get Stark to come with them to like take on the demons and all of that in the northern lands, and it's like she's like gets concerned, and Freeran's like, she's like, yeah, go ahead, talk to him. But she knew what Stark would do because he's a man of his word.
Correct. And you know, just to kind of tilt it too, like just thinking about it, the setting too, like the setting change that we have, because you know they're still going in the beginning of the season, they're still going toward the northern lands. But then when they get past the northern lands, it immediately changes. Like it's, but you know, they kind of make it sound like it's a savage land, and Stark's just like, yeah, this is fine. And Freeman's like, why did? Basically, she says, why did you have to say the quiet part out loud? Because immediately then they're swarmed by monsters, and I'm like, oh, this is a whole different atmosphere now.
Yeah, it's just like you've doomed us here. You have doomed us. But Amy said, I love it so much, and it's very much reading cozy fantasy. You're mainly there for the vibes. And correct. Dan, the action basically is a bonus, not the main attraction. And that's something that you do get. And when the action happens, Derek, because I feel like a lot of, because I love Campfire Cooking in Another World, I love Restaurant in Another World. They're very cozy. Like you do have action in Campfire Cooking, but Freeran's action is when it's done. Oh my God, it is so good.
It's sort of like, okay, you've eaten your vegetables, now here's your dessert type of thing. Like the stuff you keep waiting for is like, all right, when are they gonna, for the room temperature IQ people, it's like, oh, there has no action. It's like, okay, but when it does, it is like award worthy action scenes.
Yeah, and like the fight at the end, not necessarily the very last episode, but the stuff with Revolte and all of that. Like, dude, it was so good.
Like it had me on the ropes there, because like one part of the scene happens with Stark and Ganao, and I'm like, oh no, don't do this to me.
you're like John Bernthal from Punisher. No. It's just one of those things that it just, you eat well. And even in the smaller moments, like when they're searching for that unknown, that like mysterious booze that's supposed to be like the
Right.
best thing
Like,
ever. It's just done so good, and once
yep.
you like get to the end of it, it's just, oh man, I absolutely love that
Again,
show.
and the whole like overarching theme is in the name, beyond the journey. It's not about the end goal; it's the journey you took to get there and the friends we made along the way, type of deal. So, and it's just funny how a lot of like it's almost like the debts are being repaid. Like Freeman comes across all these people that are like, it's like you still owe me this, or like it's like okay, cool, and Freeman's just like. And I think she even alludes to some of this, like, I wanted to avoid this type of thing. I'm like, well,
Yeah,
girl, we're here now.
we're
Deal with
here
it.
now. And I love that it does, like, it reestablishes like they are going through the same trek as Himmel and the party and everything, but it gets to this point where they are reestablishing like the needed network within the Northern Plateau.
Mm-hmm.
And without Freerin and the crew, that wouldn't happen.
Nope.
So I think that's really important for, overall, like this show just does a fantastic job of that.
I agree, for bar none, and I can't wait. Obviously, it's going to be an agonizing trek to be. It's going to be a 3-year journey to get to season 3. But when it gets here, it will be well worth it.
It will be. And the next one is My Hero Academia Vigilantes season 2.
Talk
Man,
about stuff like ramping up, the intensity, and we talked about it in the first episode, right? Like in our first episode review, like it just started, it hit the ground running. And of course, again, every show has that lull in between like story stuff, but that first 2 episode, like with Fat Gum, was really well done in my opinion. And then it goes on then it goes emotional, where it has the flashback with Aizawa and his school days.
gosh,
Like
so good.
definitely one of the highlights of pretty much the highlight of the season. And then we see, I'm not, again, not really spoiling anything. We see a tease of what one of the characters we haven't seen in the season yet had been doing behind the scenes since the end of season 1. And they're hinting at, they have unfinished business, and it's like, okay, what else do you have to do? You accomplished your goals in season 1, and you rode off into the sunset. Well, not really. You have like, there's like the plot like that's happening in your yard, and now there's the plot happening in your city. Like he just expanded the scope of what needed to happen. And then seeing some other heroes that we've grown to love come into play. Like, of course, there was one that it always stole the show in My Hero Academia proper. It continues to steal the show in Vigilantes.
Yeah.
Like obviously we saw the other version of them mostly as just like on the side, like in the background. Until of course it has one more episode. It wraps up on Monday. When it gets to the like this past episode, oh man, we see it on full display. Like we
And
see
it's
it.
glorious. Oh my God. I was
Yeah.
eating every second up.
Exactly. But even the previous, before I get to the second part of the episode, the previous episode, which kind of like when we got introduced to Captain Celebrity, because this whole like second half of the season was Captain Celebrity's like all his legal drama was over. He can go back to America. Seeing how it all played out was kind of heart touching. Again, you hate to root because it's like Hercule, right? Like when Hercule was first introduced, he's just annoying. You want him just to get eliminated immediately. Like,
Yep.
but then he serves a purpose. You know what I mean? Like it's not the same. Like I think Celebrity is definitely better than Hercule in my opinion. But when you see what Celebrity had to go through, like and like with his wife and everything, and he just has like it's like almost a series of unfortunate events. Like he just stumbles into this things like haphazardly, and you see like okay, he wants to earn back the trust of his wife. For also for another reason that we won't get into, but seeing that and then seeing how he has like his heroic moment, like the reason like he became a hero, keeping the sky egg up, it was just like okay, you're rooting for him. And he even has like the Captain America moment where it's like I could do this all day. You know what I mean? But then seeing like other heroes come up, like we won't get into who pops up, but seeing them come back and then seeing some of the characters that it's like, oh my, I know what happens to you in My Hero Academia, but it's okay.
Oh yeah,
We're
yeah,
we're enjoying having you back on the screen while we got you.
yeah,
But then going back to the last episode, right after we see this heroic moment from the scene stealer, the showstopper, as some would say, we see the other person that has been MIA, and of course, the big bad, the scarred man, which we learn an interesting part about his background. I kind of want to know more about that
yeah,
type of deal. Like, I hope we get that explained in later seasons. But seeing him interaction and then finding out about the said person and like what happened, like their relationship, I'm just like, okay. And then the fight scene, I'm just like, man, this dude's like, if the Punisher was in an anime, I feel like this would be it. Like, he would be like, I think this is solidified that he is supposed to be like the Punisher,
yeah,
essentially. So,
yeah.
very great, strong episode. I know, like, the preview for the finale, I think it'll wrap up this. Like, of course, it ended on a cliffhanger. We'll wrap up that fight scene in the beginning of the finale, but it kind of seems like it's going to like tamper off. But again, like in typical shonen faction, there probably will tease something for that will ignite the next season. Zach, what do you agree with me on the overall thing of the season?
Yeah, I think the season is good. It definitely has a different feeling from the first.
Yeah,
I feel like
for sure.
the first is done really well, which we talked pretty extensively about that on our reviews and everything. But this
Mm-hmm.
season, I feel like you got to experience more of the world
Mm-hmm.
before My Hero, which I think was awesome to get, where you really got to understand, okay, this is the time we're in. These are the heroes that are active. This is the villain kind of setup and everything, because where we're at is like peak All Might at this point.
Yeah.
So villain activity, it's like, yeah, you're having people use trigger and all of that, but and there's not a ton, like, yes, there is stuff going on, but it's not,
What it was in My Hero.
yeah, where you're having like, jailbreakers and all this kind of stuff happening. So it has like
Crime syndicates.
yeah, it just feels different. And seeing like more, I feel like this is more like a Daredevil show than, you know
Mm,
what I mean? Where it's
I
like
could
you're
agree with
getting
that too.
those like the defender like level, because like you're getting
Mm-hmm.
more Aizawa, which I loved, like
Yeah.
that whole arc. And God, it was just like, let me twist the knife on you a couple more
Yep.
times. But dude, this show, if you loved My Hero, you need to go watch Vigilantes. If you have not done so yet, you are doing yourself a disservice by not
Mhm.
watching this. Yes, you're not getting the same characters, but you're getting some characters that are very like easy to root for.
Correct.
And the character development is just as good as My Hero Academia proper.
For sure. I totally agree.
So let's talk about our next winter anime, and that is Hell's Paradise season 2. I watched a few episodes of this. I'll just give
Mhm.
kind of mine. I haven't finished it yet. And I will suggest for anyone that is going to watch this or started it and you were as confused as me, you might want to go watch like the last half of season 1 going into
Right.
season 2, just to
Mhm.
have the understanding of what in the world is going on with the story. Because I came
Right.
in and I was like, I remember this much, and they're like, they just went off the cannon,
Yeah.
and that's fine because you can go rewatch it. So, Derek, what did you think of this season?
I think again, where we left off, it does like continue like the last arc, but then it jumps into the next arc, and it just feels like we missed something. You know what I mean? Like the fight scenes are great. That episode. I think you watched episode 2, right? Um,
Yeah, I watched, I think, episode 2 and 3.
the fight with Chobe and Gabimaru was really great, I
Yeah,
think, and we get great fights later on in the season because it, it, now the whole Tau system is explained a little bit better. like the flow of it's basically like chi, essentially, like understanding that they explain like how it works and like if you use it too much, you get what happened to Gabimaru, because it does explain that, go into like, because we were left wondering like, why did this happen? We do get a revelation about May, which I kind of called in season one because the way it happened. I'm just like, okay, is she this? And it does say like, yeah, and it does answer that question. And then it just kind of jumps in, like they introduce like the whole, like a whole, like, oh, okay, when we fight the Tenzin, they're like elements. It's like they have different elemental abilities, and we have elemental abilities, and these are like, it's like Pokemon, and like these will counter this, these won't work against this. But it kind of like doesn't also make sense because, like there's metal, there's wood, and all that. And it's like, okay, how does it makes sense from a Pokemon perspective, but it's like, how does that play
Yeah.
out in combat? Because you don't really, other than Gabimaru, you don't really see elements play out in that show. And then they just kind of jump into the Tenzin arc, and of course we get the second expedition hits land, and they you want to talk about, they mean business. Like they are ready to, like, pretty much they're the closest thing to Crusaders as you can get, because they will die for the cause. Like their underlings will die for a cause without a second thought. And then so it makes it like, okay, what are you about? Because then we don't see them for a little bit, and I know it got teased that at the end of this pack, because it wraps up on Sunday with the final episode. In the previews, like they come barging in at the end of the last episode. So I'm like, okay, now we're going to see a little bit more of a conflict. Let's see maybe what they can do, type of deal. But seeing the other Tenzin fight was really great. Like that's when you get to like the conflict where they're in the center, or like the palace, and fighting the Tenzin, because of course nothing can go as they make a foolproof plan, and nothing ever goes as planned, right? So the elements that were supposed to work against this one, they get matched up with the ones they're weak against. And seeing how each one plays out and they still win is still very interesting to see. Do I think I'm intrigued to see how it ends, because I know it's a shorter anime, like there's not, I know this current arc that they're in is like 51 chapters, so they're just getting started. You could still make a whole season out of like the rest of this arc, but we'll see. Do I think it's better than season one? I think it's on par with season one in terms of like the stakes, the storytelling, and all that. So if you like season one, you'll just get more of the same. But I don't think it really takes that next step. It takes the next step forward in the fighting, but in terms of like everything else, I don't think it takes that next step.
The plan is the plan until it's not the
plan.
Now,
Asha
what
Sharma, 2026
Xbox CEO or Xbox boss or whatever, sent us to be a hero. This was not on my radar really going into this season, and then I know you were talking about it. I started hearing more buzz and all of this about it. Kept seeing it on Crunchyroll, scroll past and everything. And I was like, all right, let me check this out. And to be honest, like at the very beginning, I didn't really want to pay the fantasy tax, as Amy calls it, but I was like, okay, let me just go a little bit further. And I was like, okay, I'm digging this. And by episode 3, I was like, all right, this is a banging show. Like, if you have not watched Sin is to Be a Hero and you like kind of like medieval, like big fantasy kind of structured stuff, this is a fantastic show for you. And the way that they set up like what a hero is so contrary to everything that we're like taught, right, oh, heroes, like, this
like when you look at the titles like sentence, it's like, okay, you're forcing me to be a good guy or whatever, but then you realize I'll get into it here in just a minute, but I mean, like, yeah, when you realize it's like actually a prison sentence essentially, and it's like, okay, explain. And then but it almost like it doesn't matter, because like, yes, it's like very Suicide Squad-esque, but it almost like doesn't matter because they're going to defend the people regardless, right? And by the way, like Xylo's character done by David Matranga, voice of Shoto Todoroki himself, very well done. I think his like dynamic, like he's more like somber, stoic, and then you have Teorita who won't shut up. You know what I mean?
Yes.
In certain instances.
Give me pats. Praise me.
Praise me.
You know, if is a Methode from Freeran.
Oh,
She would,
Matode, yeah.
yeah, she would be perfect for her, but
For
Xylo
sure.
is not. Shoto! Amy says.
Shoto. But no, I do think now the only gripe I have with it is like, and I know like the first episode's like almost an hour long, right? So it does lay a lot of foundation, but it's sort of like Lord of Mysteries where it throws a lot at you, but it kind of like while establishing the world, it feels like you should already know like some bit of the backstory, but they don't really explain it. Also, it's like, oh, you should know what
Yes.
the city is, or you should know what these characters are, and I'm like, well, I don't. We're just meeting them. We're just now getting to this part. It's like I need you to explain just a little bit of it. You know, like give me some history. It's like, why should I care about these characters? And I mean, it does answer those as the show goes on, but it's just like that initial introduction. It's like, okay, I need a little bit more here. Like, why should I care? Don't give it to me an episode or two later. Like, I kind of want, and I'm not saying immediate instant gratification, but at least give me some nugget to cling on to why I should care.
Yeah, it definitely feels like you have to get in several episodes to really get the
Yeah.
meat, because it's way like this is I already said, like the fantasy tax, but I feel like the action starts pretty quick on this show.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which is definitely more up my alley. But like I don't know, I wasn't just ready for it, but once we got in and then we did get more of the world and like the reasoning why he's like, I don't want to be your knight. I don't want this. Like, I will never,
Yeah.
like, you're just like, oh. And then when you meet the other heroes and you understand why, like at the very beginning, it's like you don't want to die as a hero. There's a reason behind it. And
unless you're that attack dog that you meet, I'm like,
well,
that dude's insane.
Well, it is like just so everybody knows, this is literally said early in the first episode. It's like when you die, you get brought back and you lose part of your mind. So it's like the more you die, you still are going to come back and serve your sentence. And it's like you just become less and less human as that happens. And it's just very cool.
Which leads me to, I don't know how far you gotten, so obviously I'm not going to spoil it for you or for the audience. The last episode finally got dubbed today. After it's been out it was simul-dub up until the finale, but it was worth the wait because they dropped some revelations. Like of course, you know, they introduced like one of the night captains, Kivia, who's a very interesting dynamic compared to Xylo. You know what I mean? Like she's very straightforward, like by the rules type of thing. Something happens with her because we find out there's another group that is like another faction that is interested that you're like it makes sense once they're revealed, but it's also like, okay, you don't know that this exists yet. And then she finds out a revelation, and then something happens, and then you find out what the truth behind the heroes are. And I'm like, oh my God, this just took a whole nother curveball I was not ready for. So
okay.
it is very, you will, I think I'm waiting for your reaction when you watch that final episode, because there are stuff that is dropped that is like, oh my God, I did not see this coming. It is like a little bit longer episode. It's like almost 30 minutes, but it is well worth the 2-week wait to wait for the dub. And season 2 has already been confirmed. So I am excited. I cannot wait for the next season to see how they continue from this plot twist.
Yeah. We're talking about Sentence to Be a Hero for everybody that's just joining us. I just want to pull out one person that I absolutely loved in the show, and that is Majesty.
Oh, yeah, the general.
Yeah, like he is such a great character, and the mind, like when you meet him, but then the mind, like what he does and everything, and just like his skill and all of that. And who plays him?
Let me look that up. One moment, please.
Oh, Jason Marnoka.
Yeah, Marnoka. Yeah.
Don't know that person.
Newer, I guess.
Yeah. Just I love him though. I
Yeah,
absolutely love that
very
character.
eccentric, very over the top, boisterous. It's just like onward, man. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, just for him, I would say go watch it. But yeah,
Yeah, for
I
sure.
loved Sin is to be a Hero. I definitely want to go and finish it. That way, we can dive in and talk more about that.
Hmm.
But Derek, we've got a little bit more. Let's talk about
Hmm.
your ads for this season that you've watched on your own.
So starting off was and anyway, I'm falling in love with you season 2. Now, season 1 dropped in last winter, so of course, fast forward a year later, and season 2 has dropped. Season 1 was okay, like it was your typical like girl who had 4 guy best friends. They all grew up together. They're like family, and then all of them, for certain instances, take a liking to her, and then 2 that even are like feuding to like win her heart type of thing. And I'm just like, okay. The real interesting part is the connection to real world, right? Because they don't mention COVID, but they say a virus has taken over. They've can't. It's weird because they've canceled school events because it's like a global thing, but they still like they've canceled events, but they still go to school. They don't do mandates or anything like that. They don't see it's like a death sentence. So and I looked it up because it starts off in 2020, ironically, and I looked it up. The manga started in circulation in 2020, like November of 20. So this was like the end of 2020, like peak COVID type thing. I'm like, interesting that they want to make that real world connection, and it all plays a part because it's one of those fast forward type of things. Like it starts in 2020, but then they fast forward to like 10 years later in 2030, like how everyone's progressed, and then it hints at some things in season 1. Season 2 does focuses more on like the present, like the 2030 present day type of thing. And I think the character development, I think, is really done a lot better than in season 1. Like I know they were setting the foundation. I still don't like the main male character because he seems like too childish about some things. Like it's like, oh, I want you, it's like, hey, you're gonna be my girlfriend and all that. Like it's like very childlike, and I get it, they're young in love, but it's like almost like too needy type of thing. It's like, okay. Um, but there's like a character revelation for one of the guys that is done. Like, of course, we see like the trope done so much in like more recent like stuff, but I think it was done so well and handled so well in this instance that it kind of made me care about that character a little bit more. You know what I mean? Just because of what they went through. So just be, I think season 2 was done a lot better, and I don't know if the show is going to continue because the last episode that aired today was the title of the show, and usually 9 times out of 10, when the title is in an episode like when a episode title is the title of the show, usually means it ends. Not necessarily, but it's like, okay, you didn't really say if you were continuing or not. I don't know. But if it had to end, I think it ended well in season 2. Following that, Golden Kamuy final season. And man, I've talked about this show before. Like it's one of I think it's like one of the great period piece anime that's out there, honestly. And it is just done so well. Like, of course, it picks up where the last season left off, and it just keeps like there's stuff that's revealed. Like, it's not like earth shattering revelations, but it's like, okay, cool, this makes sense for it. The still like the insane antics of everyone is still done. The action, because I mean, they go a little bit more grittier. Like, I'm not going to get into it, because we family friendly over here, but like the gruesome fight scenes that they have are just like still gut wrenching and just like, oh, the final. And then of course, you get to the final conflict, which is like the whole motivation of like where the gold is, and it leads to like this big final fight. And I'm just like, this is great. This is why I love this show. They did do kind of like a My Hero final season thing because My Hero, the last episode is airing in May. There's a little bit where it ends. Apparently, doesn't wrap up the manga, so they're gonna do a movie in fall that wraps up everything. I'm like, okay, I get it. It's to keep the eyes on it and to keep the like. It's sort of like DLC to a game. It's sort of
Yeah.
keep you interested. But it's like, okay, if this is like the new trend, I don't know if I'm going to like that. But if you enjoy the show, what does it matter? So I think Golden Kamuy final season has been nothing but and enjoyment like the whole show has been for me. Then the last one I want to get into is Fire Force, the second half of the final season. And again, I voiced my concerns last episode where they're wrapping up 80 plus chapters in 13 episodes. And the experiment for this was Promise Neverland. Promise Neverland, I wasn't high on season 1 as everyone else was, but it had a really great premise. It was a great start. I was intrigued to see where it went. Season 2 came out, and they wrapped up 100-something chapters in 11 episodes, but they skipped major arcs, did all this. I'd like to know what happened behind the scenes as to why they did this. It's almost like the studio was told, "Hey, we're not going to keep funding you, so just go ahead and wrap up this show. Go ahead and wrap up this show and be done with it." That's what I think what happened. Don't know for sure, but it was just like a biggest what to the fans, and I'm just like, this is garbage, So I was worried it was going to be like this, and it wasn't. Like, I think they did handle like the big moments very well. Again, what like it's at least in the beginning half. Now, when they got to like the climactic final battle, I feel like there should have just been more. You know what I mean? Like it hit its peak fight scenes and the big conflicts, and it did those well. But it also made you feel like you was like, okay, I feel like it wasn't fully done. Like I feel like there could have been more added to it. So did I think they stuck the landing at the end? Yes, I do think, but it was a bumpy landing, but they stuck it. Could they have done better? And maybe 10 years from now, do they do a remake where they give the final part a proper, fully fleshed out animation? I hope so. But if this is how it ended, it did end it properly.
Yeah, I didn't know that this was like a prequel to Soul Eater.
Yeah, it was. It kind of got revealed when the manga ended a couple years ago. So, but I knew that going in, but I wanted to see how the connection would be made.
Yeah. Joe says, I've been wondering about Fire Force. Derek, do you think Joe should jump into Fire Force?
I do. I think like just the power system, like one of the sound animations that they make for like, because everyone has fire abilities, but they have different levels of fire abilities, right? So like the sounds, like the sound animations, I think are like peak just for like audiophiles out there. You know what I mean? But the power system is vastly cool. It does feel like Naruto a little bit, where there's like different factions, like in each of them, like they have captains and all that kind of stuff. The plot, there's the whole baseline, like, okay, why is human combustion happening? Where people just light up and become infernals for no apparent reason. And then the mystery that evolves around that, like the whole through line through that is intriguing enough. Like, it's not vastly like, oh my God, I have to know this. There are some intriguing parts and some basic revelations, in the first 2 seasons. But then when you get to the first half of season 3 is when the real plot opens up. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. Not the twist I was expecting, but still cool how they do that. And it kind of makes sense how it ties into Soul Eater a little bit. But I think it is worth a check, a check out. It's 3 seasons, like 24, 25-ish episodes a season. Easy watch.
There you go. Go watch Fire Force. My ad for this past season was Jack of All Trades, Party of None. This was it started off and I was like, okay, this definitely is reminding me more of like I'll solo any boss, guild receptionist. And I was there for it. It was interesting. It was like, oh, this dude he was part of the top party of like this area and everything, and everybody called them the heroes party, and he gets kicked out because his party thinks that he is absolutely useless. And it's like, okay, so it's like a little bit of like, oh, let's show them up, let's stick it to them or whatever, but he does it in a way where it's like, I'm just going to work hard and show that I actually belong. And I feel like it's a little bit slow, but by the second half of it, like you do get some really cool fights within this, and it's a dungeon crawler kind of show where you have guilds. It feels like a video game in that way, where it's like you go in and you go deeper into the dungeon and so forth, so on. and you see him kind of like putting a life back together post being part of the heroes party.
Mhm.
The heroes party learning it's like, oh, the only reason why we were good is actually because of Orun, and all of that. And it's like
There's a
that
lot of anime recently that have like that. It's like, oh, like what was it? Brilliant Healer. Um, it is just like, oh, we were so good. Why are we bad now? It's like, oh, because we had his healing ability to keep us going.
yeah, because he was an enchanter, but like he created his own spells, which nobody does in this world.
Hmm.
But he's literally creating his own spells and all of that, which I think is super cool. And the second half of it, you learn that there are some things that nobody like. There's some big players that are
Mm.
happening, and there's some stuff that Orun and everything uh that in his past has been hidden because he's lost his memory to some things and all of this. So there's a lot going on, and by the end of the season I was like, this was like, oh, when I get around to it I'll watch Jack of All Trades. And then it was like, okay, I need to watch this soon after it comes out each week. And then it was like, I need to watch this week's episode.
Yeah.
And that's big because, again, I don't like paying fantasy tax. You can
Yeah.
ask Amy. Is like I will kick and scream if if I have too much fantasy tax on my plate. But this one, it feels simple, but they ease you into the world really well, and then it gets deeper as you go, and the fighting looks really good. It does have that like um especially with the bosses in the dungeon, it feels like that CGI kind of esque,
Oh, got you.
not all the way, but it's like slightly there,
Right.
which is always slightly off-putting to me because I understand that it's faster in some ways, but it's like, man, because um Overlord is bad about that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Dan,
eh,
did you watch it? Dan says definitely need a second season. I agree. The way they ended it, I need more.
well, y'all are in luck because remember I sent you a link that
That is
they did
right.
confirm a second season. So you're in luck, Dan. There is a second season coming. Don't I forget if it said when, but there is a second season. They are going to be in production. So wish granted already.
So a lot of good stuff from this winter lineup, but
Hmm.
let's talk about our Kage Summit for
Hmm.
this episode is the Crunchyroll Anime Awards. And man, oh man, we're going to be
Specifically, the
focused.
Anime of the Year award.
Yeah. So for everybody that has not seen it, let's go over to the
Hmm.
awards page, and the nominees are Dan to Dan or Don to Don, season 2, Gachi Akada, My Hero Academia, final season, Tokopi's Original Sin, The Apothecary Diary season 2, and The Summer Hikaru Died.
So, and I know we have watched 4 out of the 6 nominees. Like I know Takapi's Original Sin is part of the summer lineup. I will be watching that, within the next couple weeks. The Summer Hikaru Died is a Netflix anime. I haven't watched it yet. I heard really good things about it. Just initial impressions, you know what I mean? Like I feel like it's a solid lineup. Like,
Yep.
and this is again like the Game Awards. It's sort of like an in review, but I feel like with anime, right? Like, like with video games, we talk about quality over quantity, right? Like, yeah, you can have a bunch of good games, but we want standout games, like memorable games, and that's what we get at the end of every year. With anime, I feel like because new stuff releases quarterly so much, and there's like especially this season, there's a lot of big like this winter we just talked about. There was a lot of big stuff that dropped this season, right? I feel like anime is saying, you know what, you can have your cake and eat it too. We'll give you quality and quantity anime. You know what I mean? We'll give it
Yep.
to you in droves. Well, not droves, but you get what I'm saying. So it's just a reminder of how good the anime is. However, Zach, there was one glaring omission from this list, and that is Solo Leveling Season 2. Now, I put as the title, or like we put as the title, like, oh, it's getting screwed again. I only put that because Freerin last year beat out season 1 of Solo Leveling. Now we've had a discussion on that. Y'all can go check that out. We made case arguments for both, why both should have won, but we ultimately decided that Freerin was the right decision. So I
Yep.
mean, yeah, it's screwed again, but we're projecting this from the fans' point of view. However, season 2 not being here at all is definitely an egregious omission in my opinion. Like again, even if it like again, you're going up against Don season 2, Gachiakuta, My Hero final season, Apothecary Diaries season 2. Just those four alone are all worthy of winning. Like we can all make a case that it should win Anime of the Year, right? So if I had to take one out, it would definitely be, and I know it made waves when it first appeared, but it kind of died off really quick. Would be Takapi's Original Sin. Now it's only 6 episodes. I know it probably is a solid 6 episodes. I'll find out for myself. But you know, I heard more people talk consistently over the summer about the summer Hikaru died, because most of these aired during the summer. You know what I mean? Like over
Mm-hmm.
half of these aired during the summer season. Um, so if I had to take one out, it would be Takapi's. But Zach, what are your thoughts on Solo Leveling season 2 not being in the discussion?
Well, you think about recency bias when
Mm-hmm.
because Solo Leveling was going on in the winter of last year, the
Right.
beginning of the year,
But
and
so was
everything.
Apothecary Diaries season 2, though.
But I feel like I agree. Yes, it was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, dude. Like I feel like season 2 was so like well received. It was literally breaking records on Crunchyroll that it
Mm-hmm.
does feel like a slap in the face to what they're doing with, Sung Jin Woo and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I at least it should be on this list. And I know like you look at like Game Awards and all of that, there's always like six, and you do
Right.
have some smaller things or whatever on there. And I know nothing about Takapi's original,
Takapi's.
yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
the
Hikaru.
summer, yeah, Hikaru. I know nothing about those shows,
No.
and that does not mean anything about the quality of the storytelling or the animation or anything
Right.
like that. But when you're putting like a 6 episode show against like a full stacked season
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the most, and I'm saying this and I'm meaning this, the
Mm-hmm.
most anticipated show that's out there
Mm-hmm.
because of how awesome season 1 was,
Yep.
that is kind of egregious. And I know a lot of this, it's like when you get down to it, people are in a room, they're arguing why this and
Yeah.
that and the other should be on there. So it is painting camel by making a camel by committee. And I just feel like Solo Leveling does deserve to be on here because of the zeitgeist that was around season 2, and
Right.
like how aura farming has become part of the
Yeah.
language is literally because of
Of Solo
Solo
Leveling. Yeah.
Leveling. you know
Like I'm sure aura farming was started before then, but because I know it was talked about in sports, but
yeah,
Solo Leveling season 2 made it mainstream.
yeah. And it's like as soon as you saw the feet like walking at the end of the episode, you're like, why did it
I
end so
know.
fast? But dude, like the ones that are on here are amazing. I loved Don season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic season.
Mm-hmm.
Gachiakata for its first season out. Absolutely amazing world, art, music. Like they have the full package in that show, I would say. And then My Hero Academia's final season. Like
Emotional.
yeah, like out of just those three, it would be hard for me to pick one of them. And then you throw in Apothecary Diaries season 2, and
Yep.
I'm just like, it like
How do you make this decision?
if you put Solo Leveling on that list, I'd be like, you're making
I
me
can't.
choose you're making me choose my children, okay?
I know.
So
So
Derek,
that, yeah.
who would you vote for?
Obviously, again, just those four we that we've watched, you can make a case for each one of them as to why they should win. I feel so. You could look at this two different ways, right? Like you could look at it like, okay, the Don to Don is like the new hotness, right? Like I know like Solo Leveling is, but it's like the way season 1 ended and then just bled over into season 2, it is picking up steam, right? Gachiakata hit the ground running in season 1. My Hero is putting a bow on this amazing story. And then Apothecary Diaries just keeps on hitting with the storytelling and the character development and the interactions. Now, you can make a case that maybe they're follow. Now, again, I don't know the criteria. I don't know everyone, like how everyone feels about, what they watched with each different season. Everyone has like what we talked about. JJK season 3 doesn't really continue that trend of what season 2 did, and so if it's doing the same thing as last year, I feel like just based on storytelling, Apothecary Diaries could win, right? Because I think Apothecary Diaries tells like an overall, from beginning to end, great story. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's really never a bad episode that you watch that you're just like, I didn't really care what went on in this episode. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
each episode, like even if it was just like one of those like not really a filler type of thing, but like just an episode where they're just like goofing around. That still you still enjoyed watching stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Because somehow it ties into the big thing later. Somehow.
Yes.
Like
exactly. I feel like my dark horse obviously could be Apothecary Diaries, just because of like what I just discussed. I feel like because of the new hotness, they'll give it to Gachiakata, even though My Hero has a strong case that it's like, look, the final season and we had like you look at IMDb, like the rated episodes, and it was just like banger after banger after banger after banger. But it's sort of like the Johnny Come Lately argument where it's like, okay, Gachiakata came out in summer, like, and it just like once, especially when it got to the trash storm arc, it just took, and the final episode, the way it ended with that cliffhanger was just great, and I think got people talking about it because it was one of those hotly anticipated new shows of last year. So I wouldn't be surprised if Gachiakata won, and I think that's going to be my pick, even though, because I feel like the odd man out, like the Ghost of Yote type of thing, will be Don to Don season 2, just because each of those other three just had those, like, one's continuing and it just keeps riding that wave, and then you have the new hotness, and then the final season of a major show.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's like you've got the beginning of something big and new, and then you've got the end of something big that's been going on for 10 years. It's like
the old hotness is leaving and the new hotness comes in.
And not like a lot of times, thankfully, anime most of the time is not this way. Like the last season usually isn't trash. Like usually it goes out pretty well. And I feel like season 8 did an amazing job. Don to Don, like it did pick up at the very, like it had that cliffhanger from season 1 into season 2. And I think season 2 had some fantastic moments, which I know we've talked about this in other episodes. I think it has very strong chances, but I don't know, with Freerun winning last year and it being a more grounded and kind of slower anime, I feel like Apothecary Diaries might have a higher leg up on this.
Yep.
But the energy around Gachiakata, like it's hard to ignore that.
Correct.
What
especially
I would,
it has different emotional storytelling as well, especially that one arc with Amo.
Yeah, dude, like thinking about just season 1 of Gachiakata, the trajectory of like where it goes, like it does so good where it does have those slower moments to get you into these bigger things, and like they know how to hold tension or like oh what happened there, what you're like well what about this character, tell me
whose man is this.
Like and of course, like it has like the humor, but it's like, we're gonna dance over your drug-addled body. You know what I mean? It's just,
and then laugh like a psychopath.
And then the amount of like content that people have made from Gachiakata, like referencing it, the awesome cosplays that I've seen on it. I do feel like I've seen more around Gachiakata and Apothecary Diaries than I have seen of My Hero or Don to Don. Right. So those are the two that I feel like could win. For me personally, just the twist and turns of the end of season 2 of Apothecary Diaries, that's the one that I will vote for.
Okay. So, well, we'll have our answers, soonish, but we'll talk about it on the next episode in a couple months. So we'll have our reactions to that, or we'll maybe do a separate segment. Who knows? We'll bring it to you when we know what we want to do.
Yes, and make sure you can vote daily on the Anime Awards. So
Hmm.
you can go in there and vote as much as your heart desires. Now, Derek, let's move into the spring 2026 lineup. And
Hmm.
I have a comment from the most lovely viewer that we have. She says, by the way, if you don't talk about Witch Hat Atelier tonight, I will sell your portal this weekend.
Whoa, that's fighting words.
So, Derek, let's talk
Mhm.
about Witch Hat Atelier so I get to keep my PlayStation Portal.
So, well, let me go over. Well, we could go over. I could do the rest of the lineup here in a minute, but yes, let's talk about at least Witch Hat Atelier for tonight. We might talk about something else later down the road, but Witch Hat Atelier, it dropped the first two episodes on this past Monday, and it was a very interesting first two episodes, in my opinion. Like, again, World of Magic, and again, typical, like, all the Coco, which is the main uh, protagonist, all she wants is to be able to do magic, and she does, and she was told, well, you got to be a magician or a wizard or whatever, and so she never thinks that she'll be able to reach that until a very Gojo like character pops up in her life. Um, I'm like, man, they are really hitting that hype too much on the nose in this show.
I was like, how many Kakashi people are we going to get in anime in this? It's like
Yeah.
you get Kakashi, then you get Gojo, and now we've got Simon Sabiscus. I don't remember his name. But Simon Sabiscus sounds like a pretty awesome wizard name.
Yeah. Keyfree is his name.
Keyfree. I like Simon Sabiscus. Let's
I
change
know.
his name.
But no, it's a very interesting, first, especially in the first episode, because that he happens just to be passing through the town. Some nobles stop by because her mother's like a seamstress or like sells goods and whatnot, and she finds out the essence of magic essentially, and now she's like, oh, it's just that easy, cool, let me try it. And then in typical fashion, when you play with something you don't understand fully, bad things happen, and we won't get into it, but of course it leads on to things, and of course the mystery, because she picks up like this book or whatever from this mystery like salesperson, and she tells Keyfree this, and Keyfree's like, huh, okay. And then while he's asleep at a campfire, it's like, because he even makes reference like, why should I know this, or why should I care about this sounds familiar. And then when he has that revelation, he immediately jolts up. I'm like, okay, what do you now we have the questioning, and now we have the mystery of like, okay, what grander purpose will this serve? And of course, now that she's in the world of magic, he's like, well, I gotta take you in. Like, I mean, at first he wanted to wipe her memories, and then she's like, well, no, like, I remember all the signs that of this book that you want to so lovingly know about. And he's like, all right, I guess I'll keep you, I guess, you got to serve a purpose. And then he brings her to his humble abode, where we meet more of the cast. And of course there's that I feel like the typical like rival type of character, where she's just like, I don't know if you're that serious about magic. I'm going to essentially challenge her to a duel, but it's basically like a knowledge test. And I feel like this is going to be a typical of like the try hard, like that does everything they can to get to where they're at now with their ability, versus the person that just stumbled into their ability and all of a sudden can just do it on a whim. This will be that typical tale as old as time rivalry.
Yeah, it's like Rock Lee, but he's got a bad attitude. That's what I got from
True.
from that character. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. Dude, the artwork in this is so good, and
A god.
a god. That's what. Yeah.
Who was also voiced by I forgot about this. Who was also voiced by Madeleine Morris. So
Okay.
I'm very intrigued to see how her character plays out.
And like the way that they use the picture book, the pop-up book in like the styles and everything, I am so ready to see more of this because Amy has been reading some of the manga from it, and
Ah,
she's like super hyped for this to happen. This is like I love seeing it because it's like she's like getting like even more and more into it, and it's like now one of her mangas that she's enjoying is now becoming an anime. So like seeing that happen is pretty dope. But the art, the music, and then how the magic system works and
yep.
why it's so like secretive. No one knows how. It's like, oh, you have to be, this special chosen person. Like you have to luck into it.
Mhm.
And it's like when you find out how the magic actually works, it's like, oh, okay. So
Yeah, and they're
anybody,
like all of the people who can use it are very secretive, like keep it secret, keep it safe type of thing, you know. So they're very secretive about it because if it did get out, it would be, I wouldn't say mass pandemonium, but it would definitely be chaotic.
yeah, and that was the reason why it turned into what it is now. So,
Yep.
man, I like just the little details that they like put into this. Like when she's cutting the fabric and he's like, "Oh, you have really steady hands," and like that was a super straight cut and all of that. And it's like, oh, like, and he's listening to her talk about how much she loves magic and all of this. So
Hmm.
he's thinking about all of these things, and it's like, oh, well, that will actually go into X, Y, and Z. I don't want to give anything away because I want people to watch the
Right.
show.
Right.
But man,
Well,
I
and it
can't
just
wait for
started.
season.
Like we can't give away the hen just yet.
Yeah, yeah. Guys, go watch Witch Hat Atelier
Hmm.
or Amy Will Cry, and you don't want Amy to cry. All right.
And just one thing too, apparently, like this has been trying to get in production for 7 years. And I don't remember like why it's taken so long, but definitely worth the wait if that is the truth.
Amy says, I will remember this lackluster explanation, Derek. I will remember.
I am trying not to spoil stuff, Amy. Like, and I have to give a mundane explanation because otherwise I'll spoil stuff and people will get mad at me for that. I can't win. I can't win.
I will not stand for any hate on Witch Hat. Derek,
I like the show. Like,
I'm glad it's you and not me. Let's just say that.
oh, your time is coming, big boy. Don't even.
So, Derek, run
Uh,
me through the rest of spring 2026 lineup.
so, of course, we've got. I'm just going to be. Of course, we got Ascendance of a Bookworm, like you talked about, Adopted Daughter of an Archduke, which is already airing. Um, then we've got Classroom of the Elite season 4. I've always heard good things about this series. I'm intrigued to finally start watching that when it's gone through the whole season. So I'm apparently it's really like one of those like mind chess games. Very intrigued to see how that goes. Then we got a new anime that Witch Hat is one of the new anime this season that we're going to check out. Another one that we're going to check out that we'll probably talk about at a later date, Daemons of the Shallow Realm. And I'm just going to say, as an early first impression, it starts off with a bang. You know what I mean? Like Witch Hat is also a bang because of how it's like gets you into the world, but this is like a different bang. Like, all right, we getting into the nitty gritty of this.
More like a
Um,
chomp.
Chomp, gobble gobble.
Yeah, gobble, gobble.
Then we, that's crazy. Um, then we have Doro Hidoro season 2, which I know this has been a highly anticipated second season because season 1 was really good. Haven't watched that one either, but really intrigued to get into the show finally as well. Then another one of these that I am sad to see, like we talked about. This is the calendar year of Derek being upset because so many shows that I have thoroughly enjoyed are ending. We are in Doctor Stone, the final season, the final part, Core 3. It is finally airing. We are finally going to wrap up this amazing story. And like I told you, Zach, I need you to check this out just because of like just the overall funness that this show and like this like just makes me smile every time I watch an episode just because of like not because of the funny moments or like the insanity of like how but just the show portrays that what humanity can do if it comes together for a common good. And this is just like playing out that fantasy and it's just like, man, just what if? Like just what if we could do this? Um then we have let me scroll through here. Then we have another rom-com that people have started talking about as Go For It Nakamura-kun, which is also airing. It's a new one that's showing up this season. Then we have I want to end this love game with you. Killed again, Mr. Detective. But Liar Game, which I haven't watched a like mystery, like dark fantasy anime in a while, like brand new. This one gives that vibe. So I am really it's not simuldub. It will start dubbing in like the next week or two. So I'm really intrigued to check this out just to see what this premise is. Um, and then we have Marriage Toxin, which is probably going to be one of those comedy like action movies shows. I'm intrigued to watch that later on, or just hear how the vibe goes, because it was picking up steam before the season started. Of course, the next arc of One Piece is going to start, the Elbaf arc, which is we're chucking towards the end. It's probably going to be another 20 years before the show ends, but we are in the end game at this point for the show. ReZero, starting Life in Another World season 4. Reborn as a Vending Machine. I Now Wonder the Dungeon season 3. Rent a Girlfriend season 5. One that I think is like airing on Adult Swim. Maybe I forget where it's airing. It's not. It's doing like a different thing, because I think it is dubbed, but it's not dubbed on Crunchyroll. But it's Rooster Fighter, and this is an intriguing premise just based off the insanity alone. Snowball Earth, which apparently has been another kind of anticipated anime that's finally getting animated. One for me that I'm excited to see how it goes, only because how season 3 was kind of a disappointment, and that is That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime season 4. It had, like with season 4 of My Hero, it had its moments. The first half was good, second half not so much. Same thing with Slime season 3. Had its big fight moment in the first half. Second half was literally like season 4 of My Hero, a festival arc. And I'm just like, okay. And rewatching it, okay, it wasn't as bad as I remember initially, but it still was just like, I don't care. Can we move past this, please? So hopefully season 4 picks it up and gets more into those season 2 vibes, because season 2 was amazing, in my opinion. Then we have The Beginning After the End season 2. This is another one that aired. The first season aired last spring. Wasn't really high on it. I know it had some controversy, like JJK season 2, with the animation style and like the quality of the animation. It did get better. But apparently, like reading the premise of season 2, it's going to start off with a big tragedy. So I'm intrigued to see how the story continues on, and hopefully it gets better and more improved in season 2. Then we've got The Drops of God, that is already that's going to be airing in a couple tomorrow. Actually, it looks like what I think it was Joe mentioned, or Dan mentioned, what they're watching this season: The Warrior Princess and the Barbaric King. I've heard good things about it so far, but we'll see how the rest of that season plays out. Then we have Welcome to Demon School Iruma-kun season 4, Wisteria Wand and Sword season 2. Of course, what we just talked about, Witch Hat Atelier. And that is it for the spring lineup. So a lot of good ones, a lot of good sequels coming out, the seasons of that people have been waiting for a long time, and some good new anime to watch.
Now, is July would be the
summer. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. That's when Mushoku Tensei. Yeah. Can't wait for season 3. It's going to be good. Now, everybody, as we get into this, Amy says Demons of the Shadow Realm was like being thrown into that fire. Very interesting premise, though.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk more about
talk about that later on.
But yes, I enjoyed episode 1, and I know you were high on it as well. But let's jump into our final segment. Thank you, everybody, for being here, watching all the way through. We like to call this segment Ramen Toppings, because this is the little at the top to make it all taste good. Our ramen topic tonight is, when it's all said and done, can My Hero Academia Vigilantes be given the same love as My Hero Academia?
And to clarify, right, like, obviously, we don't know how many seasons Vigilantes is, but it's 126 chapters in this manga. My Hero, over 400 chapters. So obviously, longer tail, it was the first to do it. So we're not saying it'll be stand toe to toe, but can it be in the same discussion? When can it just be talked about like, hey, the My Hero universe type of deal, or will people forget about it? And I mainly bring this up because of how good season two was. You know, again, we got one more episode to watch this upcoming Monday. But I feel like, especially after I got inspiration for this from watching this past episode and just how fantastic it was seeing like the two dynamics, you know, from the main hero, the My Hero proper versus the My Hero we're watching now in Vigilantes, and just seeing that and just like, man, even though it's not the same like world threat, you know, it's more of like a, you know, like what you said, Daredevil, like more of a
City
neighborhood threat.
level.
Yeah, city level threat. It is still an intriguing show, and like we kept talking about the way it kicked off, like it just hit the ground running in the first episode. I think set the tone for this season, and you see it play out in different ways. Like again with the Aizawa backstory arc, you see it with this like the Sky Egg arc and the different emotional moments you have in that. I think it has the very potential, and I think the way if it sticks the landing in the end, because I know we still got some chapters to pro, so I think at worst it'll get like a third season that'll, you know, wrap up, like it'll be longer and it'll wrap up the rest of the manga. I think we can squeeze 4 seasons out of this if it keeps like the 13 episode format. But, you know, I made the mistake of reading the premise of the next arc, you know, since this one's wrapped up. My oh my, I have questions about how we're going to get to this point, but something happens with one of the side characters, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, why? What? Like it's like surprising, because someone comes makes an appearance from season one that ties into that. So, not going to give anything away. Not going to give anything away, but I'm intrigued to see it. And again, if it keeps this momentum, I think it has that potential to be in that same discussion when you're just talking about My Hero. Like instead of dissociating Vigilantes and My Hero proper, you can just talk about it's like, oh man, just the My Hero universe. Like these characters are so great to just watch.
Yeah, and I think Vigilantes is doing that on both seasons so far. Is like when I first started it, I was like, oh, this is going to be like kind of lower scale. It's going to be
Right.
more like comedic and all of that. And then you start seeing some of the stuff that they're dealing with, and you're like, okay.
Yep.
But then you start seeing the through lines from My Hero Academia Vigilantes all the way
Hmm.
to just academia, and you're just like, okay, let me lean in on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
And
like you
it's like,
see how you see the startups of how some stuff plays out in here, and you're like, okay, like especially like what was it, episode 3 or whatever of season one? You're like, so this is how it starts. Interesting.
yeah,
And then now you're seeing like with the Scarred Man coming in season two, and you're seeing some similarities that may be the roots, like the, you know, like of what happens in My Hero. I'm like, interesting. This is the potential of how we get here. Very cool.
yeah. And I think when you look at that as like a, like, let's take Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and Super.
Hmm.
It's like the thing that really stands out is Dragon Ball Z out of all of
Right.
them. And then Super, I feel like, is right below Z. Then
Correct.
I feel like Dragon Ball, then GT, because people hate on GT so much.
Yeah. It
But
has its moments, but overall, like the storytelling just doesn't not hold up of GT.
yeah,
But I
but
digress.
I feel like the storytelling is pretty similar to
Hmm.
what we are getting in My Hero Academia proper. And this, I don't feel like it's really it hasn't like, oh, we got to take a long time to tell this story. And it's
Yep.
like, no, we can get in here, we can really start fleshing these characters out pretty quick.
Yep. So I agree too, and I think that's a testament because I feel like again, My Hero is over 400 chapters, like, and they wanted to build their time with this, like really flesh out to where when you got to the end, everything was satisfactory, you know. Whereas Vigilante's like, hey, let's just get down to business, to the brass tacks, to the nitty gritty right away, and just like tell a short but like a tight but enthralling story in the same like. Two things can be true. You can have a great long form and you can have a great short form, and both can exist in the same realm.
Yeah. So to wrap this bad boy up and put a bow on it, I do think My Hero Academia Vigilantes can and will be in that discussion of the universe as it wraps up in maybe its third or fourth season. And I think we are the better for having this show.
Agreed, 100%. And it's still going to be sad because it was great that of course between season 7 and 8 of My Hero we got season 1 and we're like, oh good, they're planning this to keep the My Hero trend going. And now that we know it's shorter and it's going to wrap up, it's going to be like, okay, they might find something else, who knows? But it's like when that ends, then it'll be like a hole in our hearts of My Hero that like regardless of we proper ended and now Vigilantes ended, so it's like what superhero show will we have to look forward to now? You know what I mean? It'll be very somber day when Vigilantes ends.
And I don't want to see it happen anytime soon. But there you have it, everybody. That is the end of this show, but we got another episode coming out in the next quarter. It's going to be awesome. Make sure that you're there and check out our awesome show that covers all the video game news that you need to know, a Nerd Cave News, because it's amazing. And we're glad that you've been here to hear us talk about all the anime. Now it's time to sleep, Derek. Because
and then eat tomorrow.
And then anime. Well, this has been Zach.
And Derek.
You have a blessed week. Bye-bye.